Immortal family of the Clear River. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26 Wolf Warrior. After an incense stick of time, the remaining low-level demon wolves gradually lost the battle. As Qingming chopped off the head of the last low-level wind wolf beast with a sword, Shichun and the others finally defeated their opponents. Looking at the corpses of several demon wolves lying on the ground, after making sure that there were no fish that escaped, Shichun looked at the rest of the battlefield and found that Zhang Tishan was in a bad situation at this time. Facing the fierce attack of the high-level wind wolf beast, he was already in danger. He still underestimated the strength of this high-level demon wolf at the peak of Qi Refining. This demon wolf has very strong magic power. It seems that in a few decades, it may be possible to break through to the second-level demon beast. Shichun thought quickly and made a decision in his heart. He said to Qin Yunyang beside him, "Yunyang, Tishan can't hold on any longer. I'll go help him first, and you go help fellow Taoist Zhang." Shichun's original plan was to help Zhang Beishan, who had the highest cultivation among the crowd, first kill the intermediate demon wolf that was holding him back, so that he could free up his hands and then help Zhang Tishan together. Now it seems that Zhang Tishan may not be able to hold on until that time. After thinking about it, Shichun decided to change his strategy and let his junior sister Qin Yunyang go to support Zhang Beishan alone, and he went to help Zhang Tishan stabilize the situation. Qingming, facing this intermediate wind wolf beast that had just broken through, seemed to be at ease from the beginning of the battle. Qingming used the earth wall technique to slow down the speed of the wind wolf beast's attack and avoid its attack, while using the fire attribute spells and several low-level fireball symbols released by the Liang sword to attack the opponent remotely. The wind wolf beast failed to attack several times and was hit by several fireballs, looking a little embarrassed and angry. Seeing that it could not get close to Qingming, the wind wolf beast howled angrily and flew to the earth wall. A flash of light flashed on its back, and a crescent-shaped wind blade quickly flew towards Qingming. Qingming wanted to use the light body technique to dodge it again, but he didn't expect that the wind blade was too fast and arrived in front of him in a blink of an eye. Seeing that the wind blade was so fast, Qingming did not panic. He immediately released a black shield from his storage bag to block in front of him. The wind blade slashed on the shield, and with a choking sound, only a shallow mark was left, and then it turned into a green light and disappeared without a trace. This black shield is called a black gold shield. Qingming bought it from a casual cultivator in the late stage of Qi Refining on Funiu Mountain a year ago at a high price of 40 spirit stones. It is also a medium-grade magic weapon, but this shield is mixed with a lot of high-grade black gold ore. The quality is 3 points better than the average medium-grade defense magic weapon. Of course, the price is also 20% higher than the average medium-grade defense magic weapon. This black gold shield has been refined by Qingming for more than a year, and he has become very familiar with it. It was with this thing that he was able to avoid being injured when facing the high-level demon crocodile. Seeing that the black gold shield easily blocked the wind blade, Qingming was delighted. His 40 spirit stones were not wasted. He could control the speed and wind blade of this demon beast at its most powerful speed, so the next battle would naturally be much easier. Level 1 demon beasts have almost no intelligence. Even cunning demon beasts like wolves usually attack based on their animal instincts. Qingming first used the black gold shield to lure the demon wolf to attack with magic. When the demon wolf's spiritual power was mostly consumed, he turned from passive to active and sacrificed the fiery sun sword to attack the somewhat tired demon wolf. Not long after brother Shichun and sister Shi finished fighting, Qingming also killed the mid-level demon wolf with a sword. After taking a look at other battlefields, Qingming wanted to help Zhang Tishan and Shichun, who were suppressed by the high-level wind wolf beasts, but unexpectedly Shichun called him. "Fellow Taoist Zhang, we can still hold on here. Go help fellow Taoist Zhang and Yunyang first." Zhang Beishan had already slowly occupied the upper hand. After Qin Yunyang joined the battlefield, the demon wolf that was fighting had lost its offensive ability. After Qingming surrounded it for a few rounds, the wind wolf had its throat cut by the two short knives in Zhang Beishan's hands. The high-level wind wolf beast that was fighting with Zhang Tishan and Shichun saw that his wind wolves were killed one after another by the crowd, and saw that Qingming and the other two were about to surround it. It immediately felt bad, and tried its best to release a wind blade to repel Zhang Tishan and the other two, and turned and fled into the dense forest. Finally, the middle-level demon wolf that was left to fight with Wu Xianmu saw that the leading wolf king retreated, and also wanted to break away from Wu Xianmu and follow the wolf king to escape, but it was a pity that it did not have the luck of the wolf king, and was soon entangled by Wu Xianmu again. After everyone surrounded it, it died in grief and anger under Zhang Tishan's giant sword. In this battle, after everyone fought hard, they finally defeated the group of demon beasts, which can be regarded as a close call. After the battle, Shi Chun urged everyone to clean up the battlefield and leave here quickly, so as not to be attacked by other demon beasts looking for blood. Everyone's face was full of smiles. They didn't expect that there would be so many monsters coming to their doorstep when they were almost home. After collecting the monster materials, under Shi Chun's arrangement, everyone began to discuss how to divide the spoils of this time. The one who made the greatest contribution was of course Zhang Tishan. If he hadn't tried his best to hold back the high-level wind wolf beast, everyone would have had to run for their lives. This time, a total of 3 mid-level wind wolves and 5 low-level wind wolves were captured. As expected, Zhang Tishan got the largest mid-level wind wolf. The second was Shi Chun, who was responsible for commanding the battle. When this guy faced the siege of a group of wolves, his ability to command the battle calmly also left a deep impression on Song Qingming. Shi Chun and his sister got a mid-level wind wolf and a low-level wind wolf plus 5 spirit stones. Zhang Beishan smiled and got the last mid-level wind wolf, and took out 5 spirit stones to compensate Shi Chun and the others. The remaining Song Qingming and Wu Xianmu had similar contributions and received slightly less, 2 low-level wind wolf beasts each. Song Qingming had no objection to this. Although he had used up several low-level spiritual talismans in this battle, he still earned a lot by getting 2 low-level monster beasts. Although he killed a mid-level wind wolf alone, the mid-level monster wolf he dealt with was not very strong to begin with. He had this opportunity only because everyone was able to hold back the stronger monster beasts. Everyone knew this very well. After receiving the spoils, everyone was smiling and very satisfied, and then began to continue on their way. It's really strange. This area is not far from Guiyuanfang, and there are still such groups of monster beasts. It seems that the northern frontier monster beast unrest is getting closer and closer. Zhang Beishan lifted his beard and looked at the happy faces of the people, and suddenly said with a deep face. When everyone heard the northern frontier monster beast unrest he mentioned, their faces all changed and they were silent all of a sudden. Song Qingming had heard about this from his family elders, so he asked hurriedly. Fellow Taoist Zhang, according to the time of the last monster riot, the monster invasion in the northern border should be another 20 years, right? Who knows? The time of each riot is not always so accurate. It is very likely to be 20 years earlier or later. I am afraid that by then, our cultivation will be low, and it will be difficult to survive this disaster. After Zhang Beishan finished speaking, he took off the wine gourd from his waist and drank a sip. The northern border is vast, occupying a quarter of the entire Donghuang Xianzhao. There are many mountains and spiritual objects everywhere, but few cultivators dare to go deep into it, because there are monsters everywhere, which is the core territory of the monster race. The floating cloud mountains in the north of Uyghur are only a small part of the frontier of the entire northern border. Almost every 100 years or so, the monsters in the northern border will riot. At this time, a large number of monsters will cross the floating cloud mountains and attack the territory of the southern human race. At this time, the surrounding countries, including Uyghur, will face siege by monsters. Facing the invasion of monster beasts from the northern border that occurs once every 100 years, the Xiaoyao sect of Uyghur is also very troubled by this matter. They can only recruit many cultivators in the territory to go to the border to fight against the invasion of monster beasts. This is also a rare war in the thousands of years since the cultivation world of Uyghur was peaceful. After each chaos of monster beasts in the northern border, a large number of cultivators will fall on the battlefield against monster beasts. Even the foundation-building cultivators and golden elixir ancestors, who are usually high and mighty, are also unavoidable. This is also the reason why everyone's face changed drastically when they heard about this. Seeing that everyone was a little depressed, Shi Chun said to Zhang Beishan with a smile, Friend Zhang, the monster beast chaos will last at least a dozen years. It has little to do with casual cultivators like us. That is a headache for those high-level cultivators of Xiaoyao sect. We don't know whether we can live to that day. Maybe we will meet the Fire Wolf Gang tomorrow and we will all be reincarnated together." This remark also caused everyone to laugh, and they felt relieved immediately. The Fire Wolf Gang that Qichun mentioned is a group of independent cultivators that have been active in the floating cloud mountains in recent years. They specialize in robbing fellow independent cultivators and are very cruel. They rarely leave any independent cultivators alive. Even Qi Anfang has issued a bounty order for this notorious group of robbers. When Song Qingming first met Qichun and his gang, Zhang Tishan almost mistook him for a robber from the Fire Wolf Gang. "Old drunkard, you only know how to scare people when you are drunk. We may not be here in 20 years. It has nothing to do with us whether the monsters come or not. Qin Yuniang is the youngest, but she is the most free and easy. Facing the crisis in the next 20 years, there is no worry on her face and she is the calmest." Only Song Qingming couldn't calm down for a long time. Compared with the independent cultivators who are wandering around, Song Qingming thinks that it will be difficult for the Song family to avoid this disaster, as they are in the Uyghur family. Now he really doesn't know if he will be able to survive if he is involved in it. In a battlefield like that, one must have at least the cultivation base of the late Qi refining stage to be able to protect himself. Song Qingming secretly made up his mind that he must improve his cultivation base to the late Qi refining stage before the monsters in the northern border caused unrest. Chapter 27, Qi Anfang. 2 days later, outside a square brick town, Song Qingming and his party were queuing to enter the city. Qi Anfang is indeed the largest market in the northern border area. Even the Qi refining monks guarding the city gate have the cultivation of late Qi refining, and there is also a giant third-level mechanical beast to assist in defense. With such combat power, even the foundation-building monks and the team dare not come out to cause trouble. Everyone lined up honestly and passed the identity verification of the guard monks one by one before entering the market. When it was Song Qingming's turn, the checking monk glanced at him a few times. Seeing that he was not one of the vicious bandits on the bounty list in the market on weekdays, he collected a spirit stone and let him go. Qi Anfang is not like other market towns, where you can enter and exit freely. Only merchants who are resident in the market, or monks who rent caves in Qi Mountain, can enter and exit the market for free after obtaining the pass token issued by the market. Others have to pay a spirit stone to enter the market. Just this point alone can easily collect hundreds of spirit stones from Xiaoyao sect every day. Fellow Taoist Song, you are quite skilled. I wonder if you are interested in living in Qi Anfang. Next time, we can go out to hunt monsters together. In the battle 2 days ago, Qichun saw that although Song Qingming's cultivation was not high, his fighting ability was not weak, and the magic weapon on his body was also very sophisticated, so he wanted to win him over. Song Qingming had already seen his intention along the way, and pretended to think for a while before responding. "Thank you for your kindness, fellow Taoist Shi, but my cave is in Qing County, and I rarely come to the Funiu Mountains to hunt monsters. This time I came to Qi Anfang just to buy some cultivation resources on the way, and I will leave soon. If I come to Qi Anfang to make a living in the future, please don't despise me, brother Shi." Seeing that Song Qingming did not agree, Qichun had expected it. After all, Song Qingming's cave was not in Qi Anfang, so he nodded, then gave Song Qingming a place for them to stay, and led everyone to say goodbye to Song Qingming. It was the first time for Song Qingming to come to a large market like Qi Anfang. This market seemed to be more than 10 times larger than Qinghofang, which he had been to before. A small market like Qinghofang was about the same size as the Song family's Mujiao town, with only a few dozen shops on one street. And the street in Qi Anfang alone was larger than the entire market of Qinghofang. Looking at this street that was more than twice as wide as Qinghofang, Song Qingming also felt a little emotional. Qi Anfang, built on a third-level spiritual vein at the foot of Qi Mountain, is the largest market in the northern part of Uyghur. On the spiritual vein Qi Mountain behind this market, there are thousands of caves for cultivation. There is also a giant stage elder from the Xiaoyao sect guarding the top of the mountain all year round. In addition, the third-level mountain protection formation covering the entire Lingshan and the market, even if 2 or 3 ordinary giant stage cultivators come, it is difficult to break through the formation in a short time. This is also one of the few large gathering places for independent cultivators in Uyghur. After all, you only need to spend a dozen spirit stones to rent a cave with abundant spiritual energy all year round. You can practice in the rented cave with peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about anyone daring to disturb you. After all, Qi Refinement must ensure the quietness of these rented caves after spending spirit stones. In Qi Refinement, cultivators are prohibited from fighting and causing trouble. There are law enforcement teams led by Foundation building cultivators all year round, working in shifts day and night, constantly patrolling the entire Lingyuan market. Since the establishment of the market for more than 1,000 years, few cultivators dare to cause trouble here. Even if you have an enemy hiding in this market, you can only wait for him to take the initiative to leave this market if you want to take revenge. After entering the market, Qingming finally saw the gap between Qing County and here after feeling the concentration of spiritual energy in this genuine third-level spirit vein. He couldn't help but have the idea of staying here for a long time to practice. But he soon shook his head and came to his senses. He didn't have much time to stay here. He had been separated from his tribe for more than half a month. After dealing with his things, he had to return to Funiu Mountain as soon as possible, so as to avoid the elders in the tribe worrying about him. With a treasure like the water spirit fruit, Qingming didn't dare to stay in this crowded market for too long. He walked around the streets for more than half an hour before finding a small shop he thought was suitable, called Lingyuan Pavilion. Before entering, Qingming first took out a hat that had been prepared for a long time from his storage bag and put it on his head. He looked at his face that was covered, and then walked into the shop slowly with satisfaction. The reason why he took a fancy to this shop was mainly that compared with other shops in the market, most of the people entering and leaving this shop were cultivators in the early and middle stages of Qi Refining. It seemed that this shop seemed to be dealing in some low-level first-level spiritual objects, and there would not be any high-level cultivators coming here, which made Qingming feel relieved. Compared with the cultivators in the Qi Refining stage, the cultivators in the Foundation establishment stage have a higher level of cultivation and greater magical powers. Their spiritual consciousness is several times that of the cultivators in the Qi Refining stage. They can easily send out their spiritual consciousness to detect the people around them. This has always made Qingming a little worried. As soon as he entered the store, an old man in white came to greet him quickly, smiling slyly and saying, "What treasures does this Taoist want? Our store has elixirs, talismans, instruments, and formations." This old man in white turned out to be a cultivator in the late Qi Refining stage. He was a little surprised that a cultivator in the late Qi Refining stage would be so polite to a cultivator with a lower level of cultivation. Qingming had never seen such a scene in Qinghefang. In the shops in Qinghefang, those who did this kind of work were all mortals, and it was even rarer for cultivators to come out to entertain customers with ordinary cultivation like him. Qingming lowered his head, trying his best not to let the other party see his face clearly, and said softly, "I have a few magic weapons that I am anxious to sell. I wonder if your family will accept them." The old man in white was slightly startled when he heard this, and immediately said, "I need you to follow me to the back hall to check the quality of the things first. As long as the quality is no problem, we will naturally accept them. Our store not only recycles magic weapons, but also elixirs, talismans and other spiritual objects. The only difference is that the price is naturally lower than that of brand new magic weapons. But fellow Taoist, don't worry, our store has always been fair and will not pursue their origins." Qingming nodded after listening. The price of these old magic weapons of unknown origin in the market is naturally about 10% to 20% lower. Seeing that he didn't seem to want to reveal his origin, the old man also quickly said that it was absolutely safe for him to sell them here. Then he followed the old man to a small room in the store. After they sat down, two mortal servants came forward and offered 2 cups of spiritual tea. Qingming ignored the fragrant spiritual tea and took out Liu Xianlong's magic tools from his storage bag and placed them on the table in front of the old man in white. The old man in white took a sip of tea, picked up the magic tools, tried them one by one, and nodded with satisfaction. A top-grade flying sword costs 80 spiritual stones, 2 mid-grade magic tools cost 45 spiritual stones, and the 3 magic tools cost 125 spiritual stones. This is the highest price our store can offer. If you agree, I will ask someone to prepare the spiritual stones immediately." The old man shouted out a series of prices, narrowed his eyes, and looked at Qingming. Qingming also knew that the price was indeed not high, and at least he could accept it. He didn't say much, nodded and continued. "Okay, I still have a few bottles of elixirs here, take a look. If you want them, I'll sell them to you." The old man in white saw Qingming took out a few jade bottles, opened them and smelled them, then put them down again, said a few polite words, asked Song Qingming to wait for a moment, and then went out and called a middle-aged cultivator in. The middle-aged cultivator seemed to be an alchemist in the store. After looking at the bottles of elixirs for a while, he said, "Dao, your bottle of Jade Dew Pill is a top-grade elixir that can improve mana. Our store will recycle 50 spirit stones for one bottle. These bottles are ordinary spirit beast pills, which can only be used to raise underage spirit beasts. Our store will not accept them." After hearing the origins of these bottles of elixirs, Song Qingming made a calculation in his mind. It was impossible for him to sell the Jade Dew Pill that could improve mana to them at a discount like the other magic tools just now. The other party did not accept the other bottles of useless pills, so he could only give up. "Since you don't want all of them, forget about the elixir and just give me the spirit stones for the magic weapon." The middle-aged cultivator walked out angrily after hearing Song Qingming's reply. The old man in white was unwilling to give up and continued to negotiate the price with Song Qingming. Seeing that Song Qingming was indeed unwilling to sell the bottle of Jade Dew Pill, he began to sell him other items in the store. "My fellow Taoist, I came here to sell my magic weapon in exchange for other cultivation resources. I don't need to purchase a magic weapon for the time being, otherwise why would I sell this magic weapon, my fellow Taoist? The magic weapons in our store are not comparable to those in ordinary small stores." A quarter of an hour later, under the patient promotion of the old man in white, Song Qingming still bought a bottle of elixir against his will, then picked up the remaining spirit stones from the magic weapon he had just sold and walked out of the Lingyuan pavilion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28, Takes a Sword. Next, Song Qingming found two similar shops in the market and sold Liu Xianlong's storage bag and the monster materials he had recently obtained. The storage bag instantly increased by several hundred spirit stones. Touching the bulging storage bag on his waist, Song Qingming walked contentedly on a street on the west side of Jianfang. Seeing that it was getting late, he decided to continue shopping in this market today and buy some elixirs he needed. He would leave Jianfang early tomorrow morning and return to Qing County. After walking around a few streets in the market, Song Qingming's storage bag was already filled with a lot of elixirs, spirit talismans, and a large amount of talisman paper and other materials needed for making talismans. It was a rare opportunity to come to this large market, so Song Qingming simply bought a lot at once. When passing by a casual cultivator's stall, he bought a secret book of talisman making at a low price after a long time of bargaining. He looked at the hundreds of spirit stones on his body and found that only a small half was left, so he stopped buying them in disappointment. Unconsciously, Song Qingming walked to a somewhat quiet street. This street was the place with the least business in Jianfang. More than half of the dozens of shops along the street had closed their doors. There were very few pedestrians on the street, which was far less prosperous than other streets. Song Qingming walked along the bluestone street for dozens of feet. When he was about to reach the end of the street, he stopped and prepared to turn back. At this time, an inconspicuous shop beside the street caught his attention. Song Qingming looked up at the wooden sign on the shop, and saw 5 clear black characters Li's Grocery Store written on it with a black charcoal pencil. When he walked into the shop, he found that the owner of the shop was a middle-aged monk, tall and thin, with an elegant appearance, wearing an ordinary green Taoist robe, and it seemed that his cultivation had reached a late stage of Qi refining. When the middle-aged monk saw Song Qingming walking into the shop, he did not immediately come forward to greet him, but just squinted his eyes and looked at Song Qingming calmly. On the counter of the store, there were some common low-level talismans and medicinal materials, as well as a bunch of first-level magic tools that looked well made. In Song Qingming's opinion, these magic tools should have been made by the shop owner. Many casual cultivators who wanted to learn skills such as refining tools would choose to open such a small shop in such a market. The cost would not be too high, and they could collect raw materials while selling the finished magic tools. There were also many such casual cultivators in Qinghefang. After casually looking at the items in the store for a while, Song Qingming walked up to the counter and picked up an ordinary top-grade flying sword, and asked, "Shopkeeper, how many spirit stones does this flying sword cost?" The middle-aged cultivator looked at Song Qingming with some surprise, and was about to speak, But unexpectedly another young servant suddenly jumped out from behind the counter and shouted, "I'm sorry, fellow Taoist, this sword was deposited here by a senior. Without his consent, it cannot be sold to others at will. Otherwise, you should look at other magic weapons." Song Qingming was stunned when he heard this. This item was related to the foundation building cultivator, which made him lose confidence in an instant. He slowly put down the flying sword in his hand, and suddenly felt sorry in his heart. He just entered this store for this item. This flying sword seemed to have some fate with him, so he just saw it on the street and suddenly wanted to take it away from here. Originally, with his 5th level Qi Refining Cultivation and Mana, he could only use 2 magic tools at the same time. Now that he already has the Blazing Sun Sword and the Black Gold Shield, he normally doesn't need to buy any more magic tools in the short term. Today, he has been wandering around this market for so long, buying some talismans and elixirs. He didn't want to buy any more magic tools, but for some reason, he was attracted by the sword as soon as he arrived near this store. Normally, a cultivator in the middle stage of Qi Refining can't use a top-grade magic tool. The mana of a cultivator in the middle stage of Qi Refining is limited. Driving a top-grade magic tool will quickly consume his own mana. Once he can't defeat the opponent in a short time, he will be defeated because of the exhaustion of mana, which is not as good as a middle-grade magic tool. Only some cultivators with special skills or other reasons whose mana is much stronger than that of cultivators of the same level can drive a top-grade magic tool for a long time to fight against the enemy after offering sacrifices. Most of these cultivators are top-level people in fighting magic. After offering sacrifices and refining top-grade magic tools, they are even able to cross levels and kill ordinary cultivators in the late stage of Qi Refining. As for Song Qingming now, he is far from needing to use a top-grade magic weapon. When he saw the top-grade magic weapon in Liu Xianlong's storage bag, he had no intention of refining it himself. The price of a top-grade magic weapon is much more expensive than that of a medium-grade magic weapon. An ordinary medium-grade flying sword, like the Li Yang sword in Song Qingming's hand, only costs 20 spirit stones in the clan, and even if it is exchanged in the market, it will not exceed 30 spirit stones at most. The price of a top-grade flying sword in the market is generally around 100 spirit stones. The price of a top-grade flying sword can be equivalent to 3 or 4 medium-grade magic weapons. After the young monk took the sword from Song Qingming, he slowly put it into an ancient sword box. He was very careful in the process, for fear of accidentally touching the sword. The middle-aged Taoist shop owner saw Song Qingming sighing and about to walk out of the shop, and suddenly said, "My friend, may I ask you a question? Why do you want to buy this sword?" "I don't know, I saw this sword from afar, and I just felt that this thing is destined for me." Song Qingming shook his head, turned around and said sincerely. After listening to Song Qingming's words, the shop owner paused for a moment and smiled, and then said, "Since it is destined for you, I will make an exception today and sell this sword to you." "Master, this sword is left here by your friend. How can you sell it to him so easily?" "Even if you want to sell it, you have to find a suitable person." The young monk who had just put the sword into the sword box cherished the sword box and said anxiously to the shop owner, as if he shouldn't sell this thing to Song Qingming. Which made Song Qingming feel a little strange. The young man's cultivation level was not high, only at the 4th level of Qi Refining. Why did he seem to look down on him? He was too arrogant. If it was a few months ago, Song Qingming would not have any objection, but now he is not someone who can't afford this little spiritual stone. Alice, for people of our generation who practice Taoism, the most important thing is a destiny. Since this item is destined for this little brother, it is naturally the right person. "Little brother, you can take this sword." The young cultivator wanted to say something, but was glared back by the shopkeeper. He could only reluctantly hand the sword box to Song Qingming. Song Qingming took the sword box and carefully put it into the storage bag. He couldn't help feeling a little happy. He thought he couldn't get this item anymore, but he didn't expect that there would be a sudden turn of events, which made him a little unbelievable. "Excuse me, senior, what is the name of this sword?" "The original name of this sword is Take Su. Now that the sword has changed its owner, it's up to you what you want to call it." "Take Su, it's indeed a good name. From now on, you should call it this name if you follow me." After getting the sword, Song Qingming couldn't help but feel a little happy, and turned around to walk out of the store. "Hey, little brother, wait a moment, boss, what else? You haven't paid the spirit stones yet." "Oh, sorry, how many spirit stones, little Taoist friend?" Since you are destined to be together, I won't make a profit from this sword. Just give me 150 spirit stones. Damn, it's so expensive. If the customer doesn't have enough spirit stones, forget it. Let's take a look at other magic tools. The young cultivator saw that Song Qingming thought it was too expensive, and wanted to take the sword box back with joy, but saw Song Qingming directly took out the spirit stones from the storage bag. Isn't it just 150 spirit stones? Take it. After leaving the Li's grocery store, Song Qingming walked on the road, feeling as if he had just been played a double act by the master and apprentice. If true, the two of them were really good at acting, especially the look in the eyes of the young cultivator, who looked down on him from beginning to end. Even though he took out 150 spirit stones on the spot to buy this item at a premium, the young cultivator still had a reluctant expression. This level was much better than those cunning casual cultivators he saw in Funiu Mountain. Although he felt that 150 spirit stones were a bit expensive, Song Qingming always had a feeling in his heart that this sword was indeed destined for him. Forget it, just think of it as a little extravagance today. Chapter 29 Return to Qing County. The next morning, on a high mountain 200 miles away from Jianfang, the master and his apprentice from Li's grocery store were sitting in a bamboo pavilion shrouded in mist to rest. Master, you may have passed on this Taxa sword to the wrong person. I've seen that kid and his aptitude is too poor. He only has 4 spiritual roots. How can he practice your Taxa sword technique? The middle-aged Taoist shop owner stood up and looked at Jianfang 100 miles away, and then said to the puzzled apprentice behind him, Xingyan, you are still too young. In the way of cultivation, spiritual root aptitude is important, but you can't just dwell on it. In ancient times, spiritual root aptitude was not that important. Even if there were 5 spiritual roots, there were many people who ascended to become immortals. It was nothing more than chance. You have been practicing in the world with me for these years, but it has been a bit hard for you. After I go back this time, I will go into seclusion for a while. You should go back with me. You are not far from breaking through your cultivation. Prepare well. I will find some spiritual objects for you after I come out of seclusion. When the young cultivator heard this, he was immediately delighted and respectful. Thank you, master. Are you planning to return to the sect? I've been out for so long, it's time to go back and take a look. The breeze blew over the hills, and the mist dissipated. However, the two figures were no longer seen in the bamboo pavilion. The surroundings, including the entire mountain, were silent as if no one had ever been there. Song Qingming found an inn in the market yesterday and stayed there. He left Jianfang early in the morning. Along the way, Song Qingming traveled during the day and rested at night, without wasting a moment. Song Qingming first went east from Jianfang to Pingyan County, and then went south through Pingyan County. He walked for more than half a month before finally returning to Qing County. In the process of going and returning, Song Qingming had been away for more than 2 months. He had walked thousands of miles and had seen the vast world outside. The peak of Funiu Mountain passed through the clouds in the sky. An artificially excavated bluestone staircase was like an extremely long blue dragon, inlaid on the entire mountain from the top of the mountain. On a huge rock in the pavilion on the hillside, a 40-year-old man in blue was sitting upright, his eyes closed like an old monk in meditation, as if he had merged into the mountain. Not long after, the man suddenly opened his eyes, and then quickly formed seals with his hands. A stream of spiritual energy shot from his fingers into a smooth bluestone in front of him. A round area in the middle of the bluestone suddenly emitted many blue lights, slowly forming a mirror. A young man in blue was revealed in the mirror. He passed through the bluestone archway at the foot of the mountain and quickly jumped over the steps to the top of the mountain. It was Song Qingming. This bluestone was also a rare medium-grade spiritual object, called Spiritual Mirror. It could project images 100 feet away in a short period of time. It was obtained by the Song family in Qinghefang 100 years ago. The man looked at Song Qingming in the mirror, and then he relaxed. He smiled slightly and dispersed the spiritual energy in his hands. He closed his eyes and sat down again. The blue light mirror that lost its spiritual energy slowly disappeared, and the blue stone returned to its original appearance. Soon, a young man jumped into the pavilion. It was Song Qingming. Looking at the person sitting in front of him, he quickly raised his hands and bowed his head. Third uncle, I'm back, Qingming, you are finally back. If you don't come back, the elders will organize people to go to the floating cloud mountains to look for you again. The strong man nodded slightly and greeted with a smile. Third uncle Song Chengwu, a calm person, is also a hard-working person. Because he practiced the family's bodybuilding exercises, his figure looks much taller than Song Qingming. Every time Song Qingming talked to him, he always had to look up uncomfortably. Fourth uncle, have the elders all returned safely? Yes, the elders have all returned for almost a month. No one is seriously injured. Only your 14th uncle is seriously injured, but it's okay. You are the last one to return. It's good that you are back safely. Go up the mountain and report your safety to the clan leaders. Song Chengwu waved at Song Qingming. Seeing him bow and quickly leave the pavilion, he closed his eyes and returned to his previous immovable appearance. After Song Qingming came to the meeting room, he found that not only the clan leader was present, but also several elders of the family had gathered here at the same time, which was rare. When everyone saw Song Qingming, they immediately surrounded him. Qingming, you are finally back safely. If it weren't for the fact that your name has not faded in the family tree, we really thought you were in trouble. Seeing Song Qingming walk into the meeting room, the elder Song Gubei spoke first, with a caring tone and a few tears in the corners of his eyes. The elder Song Gubei is over 100 years old and is the oldest monk in the Song family. He has been responsible for training young monks in the family for nearly 30 years. He can be regarded as the teacher of all young monks of Song Qingming's generation. Although he is very strict with them on weekdays, he has already regarded them as his own children in his heart. Although Song Gubei married and had 5 or 6 children in his early years, and his descendants have already had dozens of people, it is a pity that they are all mortals without spiritual roots. In his later years, he placed all his efforts on these young monks and the family. On that day by the pond, Song Gubei was also powerless in the face of the big whirlpool created by the black-feathered python. He could only pull up Song Changayan, who was closest to him, and watched Song Qingming being drawn into the whirlpool. Later, he was chased by the black-feathered python and had to do the same as the Liu family, returning to Qing County first. On the way back, Song Gubei also blamed himself for this matter. It was not until they returned to Funiu Mountain that the clan leader Song Gushan checked the blood and spiritual light left by Song Qingming in the clan tree. Song Gubei knew that Song Qingming was still alive, so he wanted to return to Funiu Mountain alone to pick him up. If Song Gushan had not pressed him to do so, Song Gubei would have gone to Funiu Mountain to look for Song Qingming long ago. Song Gushan patted Song Gubei on the shoulder, comforted him, and said to Song Qingming, not only did you return safely, but your cultivation has also improved. It is true that those who survive a great disaster will have good fortune in the future. Tell me what you have encountered in the past 2 months. Song Qingming bowed to everyone and explained, I was sucked into the bottom of the pool by the whirlpool that day and was injured. When I swam out of the pool, I found that the shore was already empty. I wanted to look for him, but I was scared by the monster returning to the pool and lost my way. Song Qingming told everyone the speech he had prepared long ago, word for word, of course, minus the fact that he picked up Liu Xianlong's storage bag. He even found a reason here for why he broke through the 5th level of Qi Refining so quickly through cultivation. He lied that when he was healing in the mountains, he accidentally found a few red spiritual fruits. He thought it was useful for healing, so he took them directly, but he didn't expect that the spiritual fruit was amazing, and he broke through his cultivation without knowing it. Everyone listened to his dangerous journey, and he met a team of casual cultivators and encountered a big battle with a group of wolves before returning to Qing County smoothly. They were all a little scared. Anyway, it's a good thing that you came back safely. This time it's all my fault. I didn't expect the Liu family to be so careless on this mission. The Liu family didn't even know that there was a monster like the black-feathered python hidden in the pool, Song Gushan said with a deep face. Song Gushan was a little worried about taking on this mission from the Liu family, but as the clan leader, he couldn't leave the clan at will, so he could only wait at home. Seeing that all 8 members of the Song family returned safely, he gradually felt relieved. The Liu family suffered heavy losses this time. I heard that Liu Xianlong was also seriously injured and passed away. I don't know if it's true or not. Clan leader, the Liu family is afraid that they will lose power in the northeast of Qing County. The second elder Song Changfang told the news he got in the market these days with some concern. Song Gushan nodded after listening. If there is a change in the Liu family, this area will not be peaceful in the future. We should also pay more attention. The old guy Liu Xianlong should not die so easily. Qingming, don't rush back to Lingyuan Mountain. Rest for 2 more days on the mountain. Let the fourth elder help you see if there are any other problems with your body. Don't leave any hidden dangers for cultivation. Song Qingming stayed in Funiu Mountain for another 2 days. He never thought that the red spiritual fruit he made up 2 days ago was actually found by the fourth elder Song Guke. He found a spiritual fruit similar to the one described by Song Qingming in a scroll of various natural materials and treasures recorded by ancient cultivators that he accidentally came from the market. This spiritual fruit is called Xianlong fruit. It is a spiritual fruit that only existed in ancient times and has not been discovered in Uyghur. This fruit has a strange effect. Even if it is only 100 years old, a Qi refining cultivator can increase his cultivation by 1 level when he takes it. It is a spiritual object that has long been extinct. Hearing this, he was really scared and could only admit it. He lied that he was also lost when he encountered this spiritual fruit in the mountains that day. Now he was asked to look for it again. And he definitely didn't know the way. This dispelled the fiery look in Song Guke's eyes. Chapter 30 King Wu Talisman. After finally getting a few days of free time in Funiu Mountain, Song Qingming also returned to Mount town to visit his family. Coincidentally, there was a happy event at home. Song Qingming's fourth brother had married a year ago and had just given birth to a son. The family was discussing when to hold a half-moon banquet for the child. Song Qingming happened to return home, so his father Song Dezheng decided that it was better to hold a banquet the next day. The banquet lasted for 2 consecutive days, and there was an endless stream of guests. Many relatives and friends in Mount town came to congratulate. Because Song Qingming became an immortal, the Song family is now a well-known wealthy family in the west of Mount town, and now there are naturally many people who cling to them. After the banquet, Song's mother led her daughter-in-law to pick up her grandson who had just been born, and came to a quiet house in the backyard. Looking at Song Qingming sitting in the room holding a book, Song's mother smiled and said, "Third son, your father said that you will leave tomorrow, and I don't know when you will come back." The book in Song Qingming's hand flashed with green light, and he put it into the storage bag. He paused and replied softly, "The child has taken on the task of guarding the spiritual mountain outside the clan. It will take another year before he can return to the mountain. After returning, he will have 2 years of free practice time, so naturally he will not let his mother miss him for too long." Both parents have reached the age of enjoying grandchildren, which is considered to be quite old among mortals. Although they have taken some low-level spiritual fruits that Song Qingming got in the mountains, they still can't see the signs of aging, but Song Qingming knows in his heart that the lifespan of mortals is no more than 60 years. I hope that the 2 elders can let him worry about them for a few more years. Your father discussed with me yesterday, and he still came to ask you for the name of this eldest grandson, so that he can get some of your immortality. Maybe this child will have the opportunity to ascend to immortality in the future. Song's mother took the child from her daughter-in-law with a smile and brought him to Song Qingming. The sister-in-law next to her was also a woman from a scholarly family. After entering the Song family, she had been doing her duty to manage the household, respecting her parents-in-law, and was deeply loved by Song's mother. At this moment, she looked at Song Qingming who was thinking, and her eyes were full of expectations. A few months ago, the family went to the floating cloud mountains. The luck was pretty good. I also got a lot of opportunities. When I came back, I happened to encounter the birth of this child. I think this child should be named Yunshin. Song Yunshin. Song's mother read the name and felt okay, so she nodded and let her daughter-in-law hold the child and go out first. Saner, I know that you immortals don't like to be tacky with us mortals. You have things you need to do. Thanks to you, the family is getting better and better now. Mother has nothing to ask of you. I just want you to come back often. Although Song Qingming has been at home these days, he basically stays in his room. Except for a few family members, he has not contacted other people. Song's mother also understands that there is a difference between immortals and mortals. And her son does not belong to this small house after all. I didn't want to go out and see people these 2 days, simply because I was afraid that someone in the town would talk about our family. After all, people in the mountain have secular relatives, and things happening down the mountain will inevitably spread to the mountain, saying that I don't abide by clan rules and am too involved in secular affairs. I also like this small house left for me by my family. I have set up a formation in this room in the past few days. When I am not here in the future, don't let anyone in, so as not to trigger the formation and suffer. Don't worry, mother, I will definitely come back often when I have time. After listening, Song's mother nodded, sighed and said, "Alice, You have grown up, and you have matured a lot on dealing with people and things, but Mother always feels that you are not as cheerful as you were when you were a child. Mother, people always have to grow up, don't they? Song Qingming said to Song's mother with a mischievous smile. Song's mother looked at him as if he had returned to his youth. After sending Song's mother away, Song Qingming took out his flying sword and carefully dug off a piece of stone brick floor in the house, then dug a small pit and put the jade box containing the water spirit fruit into it, and then slowly put the stone slab back to its original position. He didn't need this thing yet, and it was not appropriate to carry it with him all the time, so he simply hid the water spirit fruit in Mujao town, which was in the mountain protection formation of Funiu Mountain, and it was much safer than hiding it in Lingyuan Mountain. After Song Qingming stayed in Funiu Mountain for a few days, he finally got the permission of the fourth elder Song Guke and returned to Lingyuan Mountain. He hadn't been back for more than 2 months, and his uncle Song Changxin missed him very much. During the days when Song Qingming was away, the family lacked manpower and did not arrange for other people to come to Lingyuan Mountain to help him. In order to keep an eye on the normal operation of the mine, he had not been able to practice in seclusion for a long time during this period. Seeing Song Qingming coming back, Song Changxin threw him a bunch of talismans and sundries, and immediately began to practice in seclusion again. Song Qingming also soon began to resume his previous days of garrisoning and practicing. However, this time, Song Qingming came back from Guianfang with a bunch of spiritual objects, and he was busy in the following days. More than half a month ago, Song Qingming spent hundreds of spiritual stones in one day in Guianfang. His storage bag, which was originally rich, became poor again in an instant. Now he only had dozens of spiritual stones on him. On the way back, Song Qingming had decided to find a way to expand his wealth. After thinking all the way, Song Qingming chose to improve his own talisman-making skills first. After 2 years of desperate talisman-making, his talisman-making skills have reached a bottleneck that can be broken through. In the past 6 months, he has also begun to try to make intermediate spiritual talismans. Although he failed in the end, it was also limited by the scarcity of materials needed to make intermediate spiritual talismans in Funiu Mountain, and there was no way to purchase them in large quantities. Now that he has exchanged a lot of intermediate talisman paper in Guianfang, he finally has the confidence to break through to the intermediate grade talisman maker. As long as he can make a large number of intermediate spiritual talismans in the future, he will not have to worry about the problem of lack of spiritual stones in the short term. The price of a mid-grade talisman is several times that of a low-grade talisman. Although the production cost will also increase, as long as there is a 30% success rate, the profit is also considerable, which is not comparable to Song Qingming's previous daily production of low-grade talismans. Mid-grade talismans are also much easier to sell than low-grade talismans in the market. Even in Funiu Mountain, Song Qingming does not have to worry too much about sales. The Song family's talisman-making method is quite famous among the nearby Qi Refining families. The family has not only cultivated 2 high-grade talisman makers, but also 6 mid-grade talisman makers. Even Uncle Jiu, a hard-working monk who spends a lot of time on cultivation, can upgrade his talisman maker to a mid-grade one after cultivation. After returning to his residence, Song Qingming first took out the talisman-making book he got in Guianfang this time, and began to study it. This talisman-making book is called Qingwu Talisman, written by Qingwu Taoist, a second-level low-grade talisman-making master. Although there are not many types of talismans recorded in it, and the market value is not high, it records in detail the talisman-making experience of this casual talisman-making master throughout his life, and there are also many of his personal insights on the way of talismans. The talisman-making experience of a second-level talisman-making master is still of some value to a low-level talisman-making master like Song Qingming. After reading it carefully several times, Song Qingming benefited a lot. He took out the talisman books of the Song family and compared them carefully. He found many similarities and clever methods. This senior cultivator named King Wuzi did have some unique understanding of the way of talisman making. There are not many talisman styles recorded in Qingwu Talisman, which is far less than the ones recorded in the talisman-making books of the Song family, but the explanation of the talisman-making process in it is very detailed, which has helped Song Qingming improve his talisman-making level. Taking out the talisman pen that had not been used for several months and opening the various materials he had collected for making talismans, Song Qingming began his journey of improving himself in the art of talismans. Chapter 31 Improving the Art of Talisman Making. 3 days later, As the spiritual light on the tip of Song Qingming's pen moved, runes with very strange looks gradually appeared on a yellow talisman. These symbols were neatly arranged on the yellow talisman according to a certain pattern, and there was also a layer of flickering golden light. As time passed, the spiritual light on the talisman paper gradually faded, and finally firmly imprinted on the talisman. Song Qingming picked up the golden talisman and looked at it carefully, and then pinched the talisman he had just made, and gently pinched it. As a spiritual power flowed into the talisman from his body, the talisman in his hand suddenly glowed with golden light, and then he flicked his finger, and immediately turned into golden spiritual light that shot out and suddenly exploded on a stone bench in the house. Bang! There was a loud noise, a burst of white smoke, and Song Qingming squinted his eyes and looked at the ground. The stone bench weighing 100 kilograms had instantly turned into a pile of rubble. The power is equivalent to the full force of a 4th-level Qi refining cultivator. This golden talisman finally succeeded, Song Qingming muttered to himself. In the past few days, he used dozens of materials for making talismans. After testing the effects of the finished talismans for more than a dozen times, Song Qingming finally successfully drew this qualified mid-grade talisman Golden Light Talisman. Golden Light Talisman is a kind of mid-level attack talisman of the 5 elements that is more common in the market. After the test of the effect just now, Song Qingming was finally satisfied with the effect of this talisman, and he was also successfully promoted to a mid-grade talisman maker. Half a month later, relying on the talisman making speed that was 4 or 5 times faster than that of ordinary people, Song Qingming finally increased the success rate of making Golden Light Talisman to 20%, and barely became a qualified mid-grade talisman maker. The final product of more than a dozen talismans also consumed more than 200 mid-level talisman making materials. Overall, he lost nearly 30 spirit stones. But there is no way. If you want to improve the talisman making technique, this is a necessary investment. Only by becoming a real mid-grade talisman maker can he slowly earn back all the spirit stones he invested. On the market, a mid-level talisman like the Golden Light Talisman can be sold for about 3 spiritual stones. As long as he can increase the success rate of making talismans to more than 30%, he can make at least 1 spiritual stone profit for each talisman. If the materials are sufficient, he can draw 3 or 4 a day, and earn hundreds of spiritual stones a month, which is a considerable profit. Compared with his low-level talismans, although he has a success rate of 50% to 60%, the income is no more than 20 to 30 spiritual stones a month. This comparison shows that the spiritual stones he needs to invest in improving his talisman-making skills are definitely worth the money. Now he is mainly short of talisman-making materials. The hundreds of mid-level talisman-making materials brought from Guianfang have almost all been used up. As long as he can collect another batch of mid-level talisman-making materials, he will have the confidence to increase the success rate of the Golden Light Talisman to more than 30%. Touching his chest, Song Qingming thought that this should not be too far away. The talisman-making materials in his hand have been used up, and Song Qingming can only stop making talismans. It's time to go out and get some talisman-making materials. Counting the days, it was time for the monthly Qi Mountain gathering. I hadn't been to Qi Mountain for several months. It was just right for me to go to Qi Mountain to deal with the refined golden talismans in my hands, exchange them for some spiritual stones, and then go to Qinghefang to purchase some mid-level talisman materials. Qinghefang has been much more peaceful in the past few years since the incident of intercepting and killing the Wang family cultivators a few years ago. The family no longer stopped them, the young people, from coming out to practice. Now that his cultivation has been improved to the 5th level of Qi refining, it is naturally not a problem to go to Qinghefang. I don't know if Gou Yao has come to Qi Mountain to find me in the past few months. Whenever Song Qingming meets this woman who has a secret deal with him, he always dares not neglect her, for fear of cutting off a source of elixirs. After saying hello to Uncle Jiu, Song Qingming came to Qi Mountain again after nearly 3 months. Looking at the familiar grass and trees on the mountain, Song Qingming's experience of touching life and death in the past 3 months was also like a lifetime ago. The road to immortality is long, and he has only taken 1 step. Even if there are dangers ahead, no matter if it is a small character like him who is everywhere in the world of immortal cultivation, or those powerful cultivators in the world of immortal cultivation, no one has a way to retreat. Throwing out a token, the fog on Qi Mountain slowly dissipated, and Song Qingming took a firm step forward. After not coming for a few months, The twice-monthly gatherings in Funiu Mountain are still as lively as ever. As soon as he arrived at the gate of the yard, Song Qingming met an acquaintance. "Congratulations, fellow Taoist Song, I haven't seen you for a few months. I didn't expect that you have broken through your cultivation. Haha, I was wondering why I didn't see you come here for the past 2 months. It turns out that you went to practice in seclusion." This person is the casual cultivator Qingming who helped Song Qingming to buy elixirs. After not seeing him for a few months, he didn't expect that Song Qingming's cultivation had broken through the 5th level of Qi Refining and was about to catch up with him, which surprised him a little. This kid is only in his early 20s, but his cultivation has already caught up with this cultivator who has been practicing for more than 40 years. It's really enviable. Qingming looked at Song Qingming and thought, if this man is not a genius with 3 spiritual roots, it seems that he is a direct descendant cultivator whose family has no shortage of cultivation resources. Such a young cultivator with a promising future in Qing County, he must make friends with him. "Fellow Taoist Song, you haven't been here for a few months, and I really miss the talismans made by your family. In the past few months, I really feel a little uncomfortable using the talismans purchased from other families. In the end, I still think that the quality of your talismans is better. This time you are here, I will definitely buy more later. So that I won't have nowhere to buy when you are not here. No, it's just that my family's support has made my cultivation progress. Qingming will ask Brother Qin to take care of me in the future." Song Qingming came to the yard with ease. Not long after he set up the stall, Qingming came over with a smile. Looking at the pile of mid-level talismans on Song Qingming's stall, which was more than before, Qingming asked curiously. "Fellow Taoist Song took out so many mid-level talismans at once. Could it be that your talisman-making skills have already broken through the mid-level? As such a young mid-level talisman maker, you are truly a gifted person, Brother Qin, you are too kind. Most of the talismans I have here were asked by the elders in my clan to sell them on their behalf. My talisman-making skills are still a bit lacking. However, my family has done some research on the art of talisman making, and there are several top-level talisman makers in my family. These talismans are also made by them. Please rest assured about the quality, Brother Qin." Although most of these mid-level talismans were made by Song Qingming, when Song Qingming started learning to make talismans, in order to avoid the trouble caused by selling talismans on Funiu Mountain, he claimed that most of the talismans on his stall were made by his family elders. Otherwise, considering the number of talismans he sold every time on Funiu Mountain, he would inevitably arouse suspicion from others. Even though Song Qingming is now a mid-level talisman maker, he doesn't want to expose his talisman-making skills to others too much. After all, if someone asks why his talisman-making skills have improved so quickly, it would be troublesome to explain. It would be easier for others to understand if he directly attributed it to the elders of the family, and he saved a lot of trouble. After listening to Song Qingming's explanation, Qingming thought about it and it was right, but he didn't think much about it. In his opinion, even if Song Qingming could become a mid-level talisman maker at his age, the talismans on his stall could not all be drawn by him alone. A talisman maker can only draw 7 or 8 mid-level talismans in a month without affecting his own cultivation. Every time Song Qingming comes here to set up a stall, he takes out a large number of talismans, and it is impossible for him to draw them all by himself. But he couldn't have thought that Song Qingming would have such a rare treasure as the incomplete map. With the incomplete map accelerating the recovery of mana several times, his talisman making speed is equivalent to 4 or 5 times that of ordinary cultivators. Chapter 32, Taoist Priest Pinglu. In the market, the mid-level talismans are indeed more popular than the low-level ones. In just half a day, only one of the dozen golden talismans on Song Qingming's stall was left. Qingming alone bought 4 at one time. Most of the techniques practiced by casual cultivators are common stuff, without any powerful magical powers. When they go out to hunt monsters, they basically rely more on external forces such as magic tools, talismans, and formations. In addition to formations, among the same level items, the power of talismans is much stronger than that of magic tools, and it is also a common method used by cultivators. When Song Qingming was in Funiu Mountain, he was able to escape the pursuit of the Eagle Nest Ridge robber because he used a more powerful mid-level talisman to sneak attack, which gave him a glimmer of hope. Such situations are everywhere in the world of immortal cultivation. At some critical moments, talismans are much more useful than other spiritual objects. However, Although the talisman is easy to use, it is a consumable item, a one-time spiritual object, which will be gone after use. Although it is much cheaper than the magic weapon, it is not affordable and can only be used at critical moments. For this reason, no matter how high or low the cultivation level is, every cultivator will choose to carry a few talismans on his body in case of an emergency. Some time ago, Song Qingming spent 30 spiritual stones to buy 2 high-grade talismans for himself in Guianfang, and put them on his body to prevent possible dangers. With these 2 high-grade talismans, Song Qingming felt much more at ease on the way back from Guianfang. Even if he encountered a cultivator in the late stage of Qi refining, he would have some confidence to escape with 2 high-grade talismans in his hands. After not coming for a few months, Song Qingming's stall was surprisingly smooth this time. Not only were all the mid-level talismans sold out, but he also sold a lot of the primary-level talismans he had hoarded before. Before sunset, there were not many talismans left on Song Qingming's stall, only 20 to 30 low-level talismans were left. Seeing the sunset, some people have started to pack up and leave. Song Qingming also stood up and packed up, preparing to leave Funiu Mountain. This time he came here, he also gained a lot. Unexpectedly, just as he walked out of the yard, someone came towards him and interrupted his steps. The visitor was an old monk with white hair and ruddy face, dressed like a Taoist priest. It was Taoist Pinglu, one of the 3 masters of Funiu Mountain. Song Qingming was a little surprised to see this person. He didn't know why this old Taoist wanted to find him. Little friend Song, you are so young and have made great progress in your cultivation. You are not much worse than me in my time. You are also a rare young genius in Qing County. I am afraid you will have a chance to build a foundation in the future. Taoist Pinglu looked at Song Qingming with a smile and said, obviously thinking that he was a genius cultivator with 3 spiritual roots. Hearing the flattery from Taoist Pinglu, Song Qingming thought about it and felt that there was no need for him to explain too much. It didn't matter if others regarded him as a genius with 3 spiritual roots. He just had to not admit it openly. In the major immortal cultivation families in Qing County, in order to protect the important cultivators with outstanding spiritual roots in the family, they generally would not reveal the attributes of the spiritual roots of these talented cultivators in the family to the outside world. This was also to protect them so that they would not be targeted by their enemies when they went out. Song Qingming put down his hand and responded modestly, Senior is a cultivator at the peak of Qi refining. How can my cultivation level be compared with yours? Qingming has no regrets if he has the opportunity to reach your cultivation level in this life. How dare he think about building a foundation and achieving enlightenment? This Taoist of Pinglu has reached the peak of Qi refining. He tried to break through the foundation several decades ago, but he didn't have a foundation building pill in his hand and failed to build a foundation. However, he still relied on his will and survived by chance. Among the nearly 1,000 cultivators in Qing County, there are only a handful of legendary figures like him who dared to try to build a foundation without a foundation building pill. Although these people did not succeed in building a foundation, they dared to risk their own death and the disappearance of their Taoism to fight for the Tao. They are also heroes in the hearts of many Qi refining cultivators in Qing County. Song Qingming also admires him very much. If it were him, he might not have such courage to make such a life and death decision. Humble and polite, down to earth, a good seedling for cultivating immortals. I heard that you need to purchase a large amount of intermediate level talisman making materials. The old Taoist just happened to have some recently. I wonder if you still need them. Yes, of course, so that's how it is. The 3 Pinglu elders rarely appear at gatherings. The ones who maintain order in the courtyard are always their disciples. This old man suddenly came here for a few spiritual stones. Song Qingming finally figured out the real purpose of the Taoist of Pinglu looking for him, and couldn't help but smile. Following the old Taoist to the inn in Funiu Mountain, the 2 found a secluded guest room. They thought that the old man didn't have many materials, and they had to go to Qinghefeng this month. Unexpectedly, the old Taoist of Pinglu was very secretive and took out more than 100 sets of intermediate-level talisman-making materials at once, which really scared Song Qingming. My goodness, it was almost catching up with the general material shops in Guianfang. Song Qingming counted these materials, plus he had just received some at the gathering, adding up to enough for him to use for half a month. After negotiating the price with Taoist Pinglu, he readily accepted the materials. Seeing Song Qingming took out dozens of spiritual stones, Taoist Pinglu took them, glanced at them and quickly put them into the storage bag, raised his head and said with a smile, "Friend Song, if your family wants to purchase for a long time, you can tell me in advance. The old Taoist has some connections in the Funiu Mountain area, and it is not difficult to help your family raise some talisman materials." Song Qingming was delighted when he heard this. If the old Taoist really had this way, it would save him a lot of trouble in the future. After thinking about it, he and Taoist Pinglu decided on this matter. And the two of them would trade secretly in this inn for a long time in the future. However, Song Qingming did not dare to ask for too much at the beginning. He only asked him to provide 100 intermediate-level talisman-making materials and 100 low-level talisman-making materials every month. If it was too much, he was afraid that it would arouse the suspicion of this old fox who had been cultivating for almost 100 years. Secondly, although he could make intermediate-level talismans now, he still needed to make some low-level talismans to serve as a cover. Otherwise, if he only sold intermediate-level talismans in the future, his identity as a mid-level talisman-making master would soon be exposed in this gathering alone. Don't worry, my friend. I have an old friendship with your family leader. Since I promised you, I will definitely help you raise the money within a month. You can just come to me to pick up the goods. Seeing that Song Qingming was willing to purchase for a long time, the old man Pinglu began to swear that there would be no problem. It must be said that this Taoist Pinglu is a good hand at doing business. The scale of Funiu Mountain today must have been inseparable from his contribution. However, he and Song Gushan, the head of the Song family, were both cultivators of the same generation. They were both nearly 100 years old, and they only had a few years left to live. At such an age, they were still working hard for a few spiritual stones. I think they were paving the way for the next generation of cultivators. In the world of immortal cultivation, there were only a few cultivators who could build a foundation. After most cultivators lost the path to further advancement, they would choose to recruit disciples or set up a family to help them raise resources for cultivation, and pin their hopes on the next generation of cultivators. Chapter 33, Jade Mysterious Scripture. With a stable supply of raw materials from Taoist Pinglu, Song Qingming's talisman making has become much more stable. With no shortage of materials in hand, he has gradually stabilized. Time seems to have returned to normal. After returning to Lingyuan Mountain, in addition to the fixed time required for talisman making, he also took out more time to practice. Soon, Song Qingming has been back to Lingyuan Mountain for almost 3 months. In these few months, in addition to the steady growth of his cultivation, Song Qingming's talisman making skills, who have no shortage of materials, have also made rapid progress. Now, he can easily draw 5 or 6 kinds of mid-level spiritual talismans, and the success rate of the Golden Light Talisman, which he is best at, has also increased to nearly 40%. Finally, he has equalized the spiritual stones he lost in the early stage and became a qualified mid-level talisman maker. In the past few months in Funiu Mountain, in addition to Taoist Pinglu who provided talisman making materials on time, Qin Zhen also came frequently and took good care of Song Qingming. He not only purchased a lot of spiritual talismans in Song Qingming's hands, but also introduced him to a lot of casual cultivation customers. The spiritual talismans made by Song Qingming in the past few months have suddenly become a hot commodity in Funiu Mountain, and his business is getting better and better. This really made Song Qingming a little happy, but unfortunately, his intermediate-level talisman-making materials were used up early every month, and he had no plans to make a large number of talismans for the time being. He knew this way of making money, and he couldn't be too anxious. In a place like Funiu Mountain, carrying too many spiritual objects on his body would inevitably arouse the greed of those late-stage Qi refining cultivators. Now that he had no talisman-making materials in his hands, Song Qingming finally had some free time, so he wanted to take this opportunity to spend some time to sacrifice the top-grade flying sword he got in Jianfang. The reason why he didn't choose to sacrifice this sword early was that it was not an easy thing to sacrifice the top-grade magic weapon. The time required to sacrifice this level of magic weapon was much longer than that of a mid-level magic weapon. Last time in Funiu, Song Qingming sacrificed the Liang sword, but it took more than a day. This time, the Taixia sword was a top-grade magic weapon. The higher the level of the magic weapon, the more complicated the sacrifice process and the longer it took. Song Qingming estimated that this ritual would take at least 3 days. Before refining the magic weapon, he had asked Song Changsen for a few days off, saying that he would be in seclusion for a few days. After leaving Jianfang, He was in a hurry to return to Qing County. He had no time to refine this item. After returning to Funiu Mountain, he was busy making talismans every day. Until now, he finally had time to come. Taking out the Taixia sword from the storage bag, Qingming carefully observed the flying sword from beginning to end again. The silver sword body is about 3 feet long, with a red stripe in the middle. A long white beard hangs from the green hilt. As a top-grade flying sword, the Taixia sword does not seem to have anything special on the surface. It was just an extremely ordinary magic weapon in the ordinary grocery store. Qingming still doesn't know what attracted him to this top-grade flying sword of ordinary quality. It's just a strong consciousness from the heart that guides him to find it. After thinking about it for several months, Qingming still couldn't figure out the problem. Since there's a fate, let it be. After adjusting his state, Qingming released a trace of spiritual power in his body, and soon wrapped the Taixia sword in his hand. As Qingming slowly drew out the spiritual power in his body, the red sword body was soon completely covered by white spiritual energy. Qingming held his breath and concentrated, took out a drop of blood essence in his body, and put it on the sword body. Soon, the Taixia sword body wrapped in white light shook and made a buzzing sound. The time taken to sacrifice the Taixia sword this time was also beyond Qingming's expectations. It was not until 5 days later that a ray of white light dispersed, and the spiritual power in Qingming's body wrapped the blood essence that he had released first, and finally entered the Taixia sword body. Seeing that his blood essence had entered the sword body, Qingming hurriedly increased his spiritual power input, wanting to integrate the blood essence into the magic weapon in one breath and complete the ritual of the magic weapon. At this moment, the Taixia sword suddenly turned into dazzling white light. After the white light dissipated, there was a crisp sound, and the Taixia sword suddenly broke into 2 pieces with a bang, falling on the ground, shocking Qingming into cold sweat. Qingming stared at the 2 broken swords on the ground in amazement. His mind was blank. This was 150 spiritual stones. How many spiritual talismans would he have to draw to exchange for another top-grade magic weapon? Could it be that the steps of his sacrifice were wrong? Or was he too young and fell into the trap of the master and apprentice? How could the quality of this flying sword be considered a top-grade magic weapon? Qingming took the initiative to think about it again. There was really no big problem with his sacrifice. Even if the sacrifice failed, it would not destroy this top-grade flying sword on the spot. It seems that it is indeed a problem with the quality of the magic weapon itself. After all, he took the initiative to buy the magic weapon at that time. Even if he was set up by those 2 people, he can only admit it now. He will go to Jianfang to meet them again when he has the chance. Qingming smiled bitterly, used the object control technique, and took the broken sword into his hand. Just as he was about to put it into the storage bag, he suddenly felt a strange spiritual power fluctuation coming from the broken sword. Qingming picked up the half of the broken sword and took a closer look. He accidentally found that there was something hidden in the broken sword. He took it out and saw that it seemed to be a volume of martial arts. Qingming opened it and took a closer look. He found that it was a Taoist martial arts called Yuxin Sutra. There was no spiritual root requirement, but only the part of the Qi Refining stage. I don't know if the martial arts after the foundation building stage in the book were sealed by some high-end prohibition. The page only showed a blank. Qingming tried it and found that he had no way to open it with his current ability, so he had to give up. It seems to be a special martial arts for the Qi Refining stage, but I don't know why that person hid this volume of martial arts in the Taixia sword. I was attracted to this sword that day. Is it because this martial arts is destined to be with me? Qingming looked at the Yuxin Sutra in his hand with a bit of a smile. He spent 150 spirit stones and thought that he had lost all his money. However, he unexpectedly got a volume of Qi Refining stage Gongfa. He didn't know whether he had gained or lost. Gongfa is something that is difficult to estimate the value. The general 5-element attribute Qi Refining stage Gongfa is worth at most a dozen spirit stones in the market. If there are some rare Gongfa with special abilities, it may not be bought with hundreds of spirit stones. If he handed it over to the family's treasure pavilion, he might be able to get more spirit stones. Qingming didn't know the effect of this Gongfa yet, so he didn't dare to present it to the family rashly. Since it is predestined with me, I'd better practice it myself first. If there is no problem with this Gongfa, I will copy a copy and hand it over to the family when I have time, Qingming said to himself. Over the past 200 years, The Song family has collected dozens of key refining techniques in the gold storage pavilion, but this technique is not included. Song Qingming only needs to copy a copy of it to the gold storage pavilion in the future, which will definitely benefit the family, and he can also exchange it for some good deeds. In the Yuxin Sutra, there is only one magical spell in the key refining technique that can slightly increase one's cultivation speed. It is called Gathering Spirit Technique, which is a spell to assist cultivation. There is no shortage of such spells that can speed up cultivation in the world of immortal cultivation, but most of them can only increase it by 10% or 20%. There are similar spells in the Song family's gold storage pavilion, but they are limited to spiritual roots. You must have water and wood spiritual roots to practice. Song Qingming lacks water in the 5 elements and has no water spiritual roots. He has not practiced this technique before. Now he has obtained this Gathering Spirit Technique, which just fills this gap for him. Although this magical power cannot be used against the enemy, it is still somewhat useful. Combined with the incomplete map on his body, Song Qingming expects that he can also improve his cultivation speed by about 20%. In addition, he has been taking elixirs for a long time to improve his cultivation, which has also allowed him to approach the cultivation speed of a cultivator with 3 spiritual roots. Although the Yuxin Sutra does not have any powerful magical powers, it is still good as an auxiliary practice. Song Qingming has gained something from this practice, and the haze of the broken Taxa sword has gradually disappeared from his face. Now Song Qingming has no shortage of spiritual stones. He has spiritual pills to take every month, his cultivation is also steadily improving, and the magic tools in his hands are also quite good. What he lacks is just this method that can help him improve his cultivation speed. Chapter 34 Xiaoyao Sect. In the floating cloud mountains, several Xiaoyao sect monks in grey Taoist robes were standing by the pond where Song Qingming had escaped a few months ago, observing the movements in the pond. One of them was a Taoist monk with a white beard and a Taoist bun on his head, holding a whisk. Although he looked inconspicuous, he exuded a faint spiritual pressure from time to time. He was a strong man who had reached the peak of the foundation building stage. Behind the Taoist monk with a white beard, there were 2 foundation building monks, 1 male and 1 female, and 7 or 8 key training monks, who followed him carefully and looked at the center of the calm pond. After a while, a wave of water rippled in the center of the pond, and a foundation building monk wearing the same grey Taoist robe slowly floated to the surface of the water. This person was wrapped in a deep blue light shield, and not even a trace of his clothes was touched by the pond water. The lower-level key training and foundation building disciples of Xiaoyao sect wore uniform color and style of robes and Taoist robes when they went out. The key training disciples were all dressed in white, while the foundation building disciples were dressed in grey Taoist robes. Brother Don, we have completed the investigation. There is indeed a second-level middle-grade black-feathered python in this pool. It is in the cave at the bottom of the pool. However, the passages in this cave are interconnected. It may be disadvantageous for us to fight underwater. Should we lure it out of the water before we fight? The foundation building cultivator in the pool said respectfully to the white-bearded cultivator who was leading the group on the shore. Although he was also a foundation building cultivator in Xiaoyao sect, he had just broken through the foundation building period and his cultivation level was only at the 2nd level. In front of this long-established foundation building master in the sect, he was still very humble. The top-level foundation building cultivator in front of him, Brother Yan, whose real name was Yan Qinghu, was a veteran foundation building cultivator among the more than 200 foundation building cultivators in Xiaoyao sect, and whose cultivation and supernatural powers ranked in the top 10. He was always respected by the foundation building and key refining disciples at the bottom of the sect, and was also the leader of this sect's mission. Xiaoyao sect has dominated the country for thousands of years. Now, the sect not only has a great elder who has advanced to the nascent soul stage for many years, but also 9 elders in the golden core stage, more than 200 foundation building masters, and as many as 10,000 disciples in the key refining stage. Among the cultivators at the peak of the foundation building stage, Tian Qinghu is the most powerful one in the sect, except for the great elder, the nascent soul ancestor, and the 9 golden core elders in the Xiaoyao sect. Tian Qinghu had tried to form a pill twice, but unfortunately he failed. Although his mana cultivation had reached the peak of the foundation building stage, he was already 190 years old for a foundation building cultivator. Although there was still a glimmer of hope for forming a pill, he had little life left. If he could not form a pill within 20 to 30 years, his path would only stop at the foundation building stage. Okay, junior brother Wei, you've worked hard. Tian Qinghu nodded after listening. He first turned around and glanced at a Qi refining disciple not far behind him, then raised his eyebrows and said indifferently to a foundation establishment fellow disciple next to him, Junior brother Li, what do you think? A handsome young cultivator behind Tian Qinghu was obviously dissatisfied with the caution of junior brother Wei, who was at the second level of foundation building, and could not help but say, we have a total of 4 foundation building cultivators for this mission, and senior brother Tian, a master at the top of the foundation building level, is in charge. Dealing with a mere second-level intermediate grade black feathered python is a piece of cake. Junior brother Wei is worrying too much? Please help me, brothers, and I will go and kill this monster. This handsome foundation building cultivator is the direct disciple of the giant and ancestor of Xiaoyou sect. Although he is only at the 5th level of foundation building, he is no weaker than the ordinary late foundation building cultivators in the sect with the 2 sophisticated magic weapons bestowed by his master. He does not take a second-level intermediate grade monster seriously, and does not want other people to help. This man is called Li Yuanguang. When he joined Xiaoyou sect in his early years, he was accepted by a giant and elder in the sect and became a direct disciple of Xiaoyou sect. He has outstanding spiritual roots and is only in his 60s, but he has already reached the 5th level of foundation building. As a core foundation building disciple in Xiaoyou sect, Li Yuanguang has always been favored by his master, and his future is limitless. He is one of the few foundation building disciples in the sect who can impact a giant in realm in the future. Although he has been building his foundation for some time, Li Yuanguang has always lacked experience outside. Since he became a disciple of the giant and ancestor, he has never lacked training resources from the Qi refining stage to the foundation building stage. Under the guidance of his master, he has been practicing smoothly and step by step for decades. Usually, Li Yuanguang is practicing in seclusion in the sect, and rarely goes out to perform sect tasks. This time, he finally asked his master for an opportunity to go out for experience. He is also a little eager to show his ability in front of several fellow disciples to make his master look good. Another woman in green next to him saw that Li Yuanguang was a little reckless and was about to speak out to stop him, but unexpectedly the team leader Tian Qinghu laughed and said to Li Yuanguang, since junior brother Li is determined to make contributions to the sect, I will naturally not stop you. Junior brother, go and meet this monster first. If it fails, we will help you. Li Yuanguang was secretly delighted when he saw this. He bowed to Tian Qinghu, then took out a white flying sword and plunged into the pool. Soon, the sound of fierce fighting broke out at the bottom of the pool. The woman in green looked at Tian Qinghu and said with some concern, Brother Tian, why didn't you stop junior brother Li just now? If there are other dangers in this pool, if junior brother Li has any accident, how can we explain to Uncle Jin when we go back? Don't worry, Sister Chang, we have just explored this pool, and there is indeed only one black feathered python below. Besides, junior brother Li has learned the true teachings of Uncle Jin. With his magical powers, what other dangers can there be? Besides, Uncle Jin also told me before leaving that junior brother Li should have more experience. I am also following Uncle Jin's orders, Tian Qinghu said indifferently. Brother Tian is right. Since someone is doing it for us, we can save energy and avoid people thinking that we have stolen his limelight. After hearing what Tian Qinghu said, the foundation building cultivator named Wei on the side also began to sneer and ridicule, obviously seeing that Tian Qinghu wanted to watch intentionally. The woman in green looked at Tian Qinghu but didn't say anything else. She flew over the pool alone, thinking about something, wanting to get a closer look at what was happening below the pool. There was a flash of swords and shadows below the pool, and from time to time there was a sound of magic tools colliding. Half an hour later, by the pool, Li Yuanguang stood by the pool with a smug look on his face, holding the huge black head of the black feathered python in one hand and throwing it to the ground. In the pool behind him, a python body of 70 to 80 feet long was floating in the center of the pool, and the blood was almost dyeing the entire pool red. Several white-clothed Qi refining Xiaoyou sect disciples by the pool hurried forward to help Li Yuanguang put away the snake head of the black-feathered python. Tian Qinghu greeted him with a smile on his face. Junior brother Li is worthy of being Uncle Jin's direct disciple. He has the Sky-Fire Thunder art and his magical powers are indeed extraordinary. He killed the black-feathered python so quickly and neatly. It was really hard work for junior brother Li. Next, please ask junior sister Cheng to go down with us to transplant the water spirit fruit trees. Tian King, who picked up the Qi Refining disciple he had glanced at before, and led the other 3 foundation establishment cultivators to fly over the water pool. Several people released protective shields and plunged into the water pool. Soon everyone arrived at the monster cave at the bottom of the pool. Tian King, who looked at the pile of bones deep in the cave and asked the Qi Refining disciple, "What is your name?" The white-clothed disciple replied in fear, reporting to Uncle Yan, "I am your disciple, Diechan." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35: Transplanting the Spiritual Fruit Tree. At this moment, the white-clothed disciple of Xiaoyo sect, who was a little dull and had a low brow, was Du Yechan, who had brutally killed his former fellow monks in this monster cave a few months ago. However, at this moment, in front of several foundation building seniors, his face turned into his unique honest look, and his eyes turned around several foundation building monks from time to time, and there was no trace of the fierceness when he killed Wu Ziyan. After escaping from the pond that day, Diechan did not return to Qing County, but walked thousands of miles to Qingming Mountain, the mountain gate of Xiaoyo sect, and directly presented the news of this water spirit fruit tree to Xiaoyo sect. However, in order not to attract other people's attention, he did not tell others about the Liu family's organization of several families in Qing County to jointly hunt monsters and monsters here, but only claimed that he accidentally entered this pond and discovered the existence of this water spirit fruit tree and the black-feathered python. For Xiaoyo sect, a water spirit fruit tree is also a spiritual object that can affect the foundation of the sect, and its value is inestimable. The news brought by Du Yechan even alarmed Guangling Zhenren, the head of Xiaoyo sect's general affairs. After Guangling Zhenren learned about this, he sent the sect disciples headed by Tian King to bring Du Yechan to the pond again on the same day. This time, not only did they want to kill the black-feathered python entrenched here, Xiaoyo sect also sent a second-level middle-grade spiritual plant master to transplant this water spirit fruit tree directly to Xiaoyo sect's spiritual medicine garden. Among the 5-element spiritual fruit trees planted in the entire Xiaoyo sect's spiritual medicine garden, only a dozen of them can bear fruit after 1,000 years of age. Finding a wild mature 5-element spiritual fruit tree in the wild is also an unexpected surprise for Xiaoyo sect. Normally, the 5-element spiritual fruit tree will begin to bear fruit when it reaches 1,000 years of age. Generally, a spiritual fruit will mature every 100 years. If it is planted in a high-level spiritual land and carefully cared for by a high-level spiritual plant master, the time for the fruit to mature can be shortened. Xiaoyo sect has dominated the cultivation world of Uyghur for thousands of years by firmly controlling the 2 main medicines of the 5 elements, spiritual fruit and jade marrow golden Ganoderma. After Du Yechan arrived at Xiaoyo sect, he used this pearl water spiritual fruit tree to not only successfully join Xiaoyo sect as an inner disciple, but also received hundreds of spiritual stones as a reward. In addition, Master Guangling also promised him that as long as Du Yechan could cultivate to the 9th level of Qi Refining before the age of 60, the sect could provide him with a foundation building pill. Although Master Guangling believed that Du Yechan had average talent, even if he joined Xiaoyo sect and could get more cultivation resources, it would not be easy to cultivate to the 9th level of Qi Refining before the age of 60. Although he promised to give him a foundation building pill in the future, that would be decades later. Du Yechan, who had ordinary spiritual root talent, would most likely not be able to get it in the future. The sect spent hundreds of spiritual stones and added an insignificant disciple to exchange for a 5-element spiritual fruit tree. This was a very profitable business for Xiaoyo sect. Under the careful arrangement of Master Guangling, the mission of the Xiaoyo sect to the floating cloud mountains was possible. This time, for this water spirit fruit tree, Xiaoyo sect not only sent Yan Qinghu, who was at the peak of foundation building, but also Li Yonggong, a core disciple with combat power equivalent to the late foundation building, plus Chang Ziyan, who was at the 4th level of foundation building, and Wei Xiaoyan, who was at the 2nd level of foundation building. As long as the 4 of them did not encounter a 3rd-level monster or a golden elixir master, this mission could be said to be foolproof, which shows how much Xiaoyo sect values this pearl water spirit fruit tree. Tian King, who sensed the fluctuation of spiritual power in the cave, and said with a smile, "There is indeed a second-level water vein here. No wonder a spiritual object like the water spirit fruit tree can be born, except for Du Yechen, a Qi refining cultivator." The others nodded after hearing this. They were all foundation-building cultivators. When they just entered the cave, they had already felt the spiritual energy gushing out of the underwater spiritual vein. Led by Du Yechen, the group of 5 people soon came to the depths of the cave and saw the target of their mission, the water spirit fruit tree. After not seeing it for a few months, the water spirit fruit tree shining with blue spirit fruit was still as gorgeous as ever. After Du Yechen saw that the water spirit fruit tree was safe and sound, he finally let go of his worries. He knew clearly that on the way back to the floating cloud mountains from Xiaoyao sect, his fate was always in the hands of the Xiaoyao sect foundation building cultivators in front of him. If he failed to lead them to find the water spirit fruit tree successfully, he would probably become one of the corpses outside in the next moment. Haha, it really is a mature water spirit fruit tree. As long as we can bring back this pearl spirit fruit tree successfully, Uncle Guangling will definitely reward us well after we go back. Tian King, who looked at the pearl blue water spirit fruit tree in front of him, and continued to ask Chang Ziyan beside him with a smile on his face, "Junior sister Chang, take a look at this pearl water spirit fruit tree. Are there any other problems? Can it be transplanted now?" Chang Ziyan walked forward, took a closer look at the water spirit fruit tree, frowned and said to everyone, "This pearl water spirit fruit tree is 5 feet tall and is about 2,000 years old. It seems that a spirit fruit on the tree just matured not long ago, and I don't know where it went. The other spirit fruits will take nearly 100 years to mature, and they can be transplanted at any time. Junior brother Du, when you discovered this tree, did you see the mature water spirit fruit?" Tian King, whose expression changed, and he asked Du Yechen behind him with a slightly gloomy look. Du Yechen was immediately panicked when he heard this, and quickly knelt on the ground to explain. Disciple entered this place by chance that day, and did not see any ripe spiritual fruits. The black-feathered python guards this place day and night. With my low cultivation level, how could I steal spiritual fruits under its nose? If you uncles and aunts don't believe me, you can look through my storage bag. After Du Yechen finished speaking, he quickly poured out all the items in his storage bag, and the spiritual stones and sundries on the ground in the storage bag suddenly jingled non-stop. Cheng Ziyan glanced at Du Yechen's storage bag and confirmed that he did not have any water spirit fruit. Seeing that he was so scared, she said with some pity, "Senior brother Yan, this ripe water spirit fruit should have been swallowed by the black-feathered python. The black-feathered python has been practicing here for many years and must have come here for the pearl spirit fruit. With this kid being so timid, how dare he steal food from the black-feathered python's mouth? He wouldn't dare to deceive us even if he had 2 guts." Li Yongguang glanced at Du Yechen, who was kneeling on the ground, and said with some disdain. Wei, who was a foundation-building cultivator at the side, also spoke up and agreed, "Senior sister Cheng should be right, but it's a pity that we didn't get the ripe water spirit fruit. If we could get another water spirit fruit, the sect would definitely give more rewards for this mission. We can only say that our luck may not be so good this time. Fortunately, the water spirit fruit tree has been obtained, which can be regarded as completing the mission." After saying that, he sighed with some regret. After listening to what several people said, Tian King, who nodded thoughtfully, and said lightly to Du Yechen on the ground, "Junior brother Du, what are you doing? I was just asking casually. You have made great contributions to the sect this time. Uncle Guangling also told me to take good care of you along the way. Get up quickly, it is not decent to kneel on the ground." After hearing this, Du Yechen got up a little stiffly, still a little scared, and stood aside at a loss, until Chang Ziyan in front of him pointed to the ground. He smiled foolishly and began to pick up the items on the ground. After listening to what Chang Ziyan and the others said, Tian King, whose expression eased a little. He smiled and said to Chang Ziyan, "Junior sister Chang, the next transplant of the water spirit fruit tree will be hard for you, the second-level spiritual plant master, brother Yan. You are too polite. It is the responsibility of the sect, how dare I say hard work." Chang Ziyan nodded after she finished speaking. She first took out a set of second-level magic arrays to seal the spiritual power at the root of the water spirit fruit tree, and then released a second-level magic weapon unique to spiritual plant masters, carefully dug the entire water spirit fruit tree out of the ground, and carefully used a second-level talisman to temporarily seal the entire fruit tree. Several people carefully took the water spirit fruit tree and left the cave. After the 5 people left the pool, Tian Qinghu patted his storage bag and released a 3-inch green boat. The spiritual boat swelled with the wind and instantly reached a size of 2 feet. Tian Qinghu stepped onto the spiritual boat with his toes. The rest of the people followed suit and boarded the spirit boat. Tian Qinghu used both hands to cast a spell, and the spirit boat instantly turned into a green light and flew 100 feet away. Chapter 36 Guangling's On a towering spiritual mountain thousands of miles away from the floating cloud mountains, the Xiaoyao sect's general affairs elder Guangling's was resting his mind in the hall. After a while, a gray-clothed foundation building disciple came to the hall quickly, holding a red communication talisman in his hand. Seeing Henrim Guangling, he quickly said, "Master, Senior Brother Tian sent a note saying that he has found the pearl spirit fruit tree in the floating cloud mountains. He is now taking Junior Brother Li and the others back to the sect. With his Qingming boat speed, he should be able to return to Qingming Mountain in 3 or 4 days. Congratulations, Master, for making great contributions to the sect again. This time, you found a 5-element fruit tree for the sect. If the headmaster knows about it, he will definitely reward our general affairs hall." Zhenrim Guangling slowly opened his eyes and said with a smile, "It is a blessing for the sect to have obtained a 5-element fruit tree. This kind of spiritual object that can increase the foundation of the sect is naturally a blessing for the sect. Before the chaos of the monsters in the northern border, we can train 1 or 2 more foundation building disciples for the sect, and also provide more help for the sect." Master Guangling, dressed in black, looked young, no more than 20 or 30 years old. He narrowed his sharp eyes, nodded with a smile at the person reporting in front of him, and then gave an order calmly. "Xianyu, send a disciple to King Hefang to inform Liu Yuanfang that the Liu family in Qingming Mountain, Qing County, no longer needs to exist. All cultivators will be sent to Huiyan Mountain to dig for black iron ore veins." "Master, all the cultivators of the Liu family have been sent to Huiyan Mountain. What should be done with the remaining mortals? Should they be assigned to King Hefang?" Master Guangling looked at the thoughtful disciple in front of him and smiled and said, "Let Liu Yuanfang handle it himself. If he is willing to accept it, it will be assigned to King Hefang. If he is not willing, let the Wang family and nearby families take it over. The mistakes of the cultivators should not involve the mortals below." Lin Xianyu nodded and was about to leave, as if he suddenly thought of something, and asked again, "Master, we also know that this time it was the Liu family who organized people to go to the floating cloud mountains to hunt monsters, and we are not sure that the Liu family must know about the spiritual fruit tree. Should we invite the Liu family to ask again to avoid wrongly accusing them?" "No need. The one from the Liu family who established his foundation 100 years ago must have obtained the water spirit fruit from here. A small Qi refining family now dares to hide something under the sect's nose. We must spread the news this time to shock those dishonest families and let them know the consequences of being smart." "But Master, why did you treat the Qi refining disciple who discovered the spirit fruit tree so courteously? He has bad conduct and is willing to sell out members of the clan for his own benefit." Master Guangling narrowed his eyes and stood up. He walked to the door of the hall and continued, "I knew you didn't understand. Yes, when he asked the divine talisman that day, he was indeed a selfish person. However, the first thing he thought of was to dedicate the spirit fruit tree to the sect, even at the cost of selling out the interests of his own family. The sect must reward such people, and let the family cultivators below know that the sect is also their protector. I am the head of the General Affairs Hall, and I manage hundreds of vassal families under the sect. Now more and more families have forgotten the sect's protection of them. They only care about the interests of the family and completely ignore the sect. There are many who are disloyal. If this continues for a long time, they will become more and more disloyal to the sect. When the monsters in the northern border are in turmoil, how can the sect rely on them?" After listening, Lin Xianyu nodded woodenly. Although he was a little puzzled about his master's arrangement, he never dared to object. Diuchen, who was standing on Tian Qinghu's green spirit boat at this time, didn't know that when he went to Xiaoyao sect to report the news of the water spirit fruit tree, the Xiaoyao sect cultivators had already used the God-asking talisman to investigate the matter thoroughly. The God-asking talisman is a second-level spiritual talisman. It can be used on ordinary Qi refining or even foundation building cultivators. It can fix the cultivator's mind for a short time, so that the cultivator cannot lie and can easily ask the questions they want to know. However, it is useless for cultivators above the foundation building stage. Although this kind of talisman is a second-level talisman and is very valuable, with hundreds of spiritual stones required for one piece, in order to confirm the news about the water spirit fruit tree, Master Guangling did not hesitate to use it on Duyechin. Before using the questioning talisman, he used the soul calling technique on him in advance. Duyechin still doesn't know that Xiaoyao sect actually wasted the precious questioning talisman on him. Master Guangling's cultivation level is the 4th level of the golden elixir, which is only considered average among the 9 golden elixir cultivators in Xiaoyao sect. Don't look at his appearance of being only in his 20s or 30s, but because he took the anti-aging elixir in his early years, he has actually practiced Taoism for more than 300 years, which is not young among the golden elixir cultivators. A golden elixir cultivator has a lifespan of 500 years, and can live an extra 100 years by taking some third-level life-extending spiritual objects. If there are no other reasons that affect the lifespan, he can generally live to 600 years old. Guangling's Henring was late in forming the golden elixir, and formed the golden elixir 3 times. He was almost 200 years old when he succeeded in forming the golden elixir by chance. He had formed the golden elixir for almost 200 years, but he was only at the 4th level of the golden elixir. He was considered a golden elixir cultivator with exhausted potential in Xiaoyao sect, so he was appointed by the sect leader to the position of elder of the General Affairs Hall, which had many chores. However, Guangling's Henry himself was not so desperate about his own path. He often thought about making contributions to the sect and earning more merits, and wanted to speed up his cultivation progress. Over the years, relying on the convenience of his position as the head of the General Affairs Hall, he also gained a lot of benefits and obtained a lot of cultivation resources. However, his cultivation speed was really slow, and it was hard to say whether he could cultivate to the late stage of the golden elixir before his lifespan was exhausted, let alone impact the nascent soul stage. This time, for the sake of the pearl water spirit fruit tree, Guangling's Henrin also did his best. If it weren't for the recent numerous affairs of the sect, he would have wanted to lead the team to the floating cloud mountains in person. In Xiaoyao sect, apart from the Grand Elder Li Mufang who had advanced to the nascent soul stage 300 years ago, among the remaining 9 Jinden cultivators, the only ones with the greatest hope of reaching the nascent soul stage are the sect leader Yao Qianshu and Bai Yuxin. As the sect leader of Xiaoyao sect, Yao Qianshu is a person who is second to none except the Grand Elder Li Mufang. He has already cultivated to the 9th level of Jinden long ago, and has also challenged the nascent soul stage once. Now he still has more than 100 years to live, and there is about a 20% to 30% chance of reaching the nascent soul stage. Another female Jinden cultivator, Bai Yuxin, is a woman, but she is a gifted person. She is the only Xianlingjin cultivator in Uyghur for hundreds of years. However, she has cultivated to the 7th level of Jinden at only more than 200 years old. Her hope of reaching the nascent soul stage in the future is even higher than that of the sect leader Yao Qianshu. Most of the resources in Xiaoyao sect naturally tend to these 2 people. Although Jinden cultivators like Guangling's Henrin in the sect are somewhat dissatisfied with this, there is nothing they can do about it. After all, whether it is a Xuxin family or a large sect like Xiaoyao sect, in order to successfully cultivate Yuanying cultivators to inherit the sect, this is also a last resort. If a Yuanying sect is in a period of transition, if the previous generation of Yuanying cultivators pass away, and there is suddenly no Yuanying cultivator in the sect, it will definitely attract the attention of surrounding forces, and it will be difficult to avoid the end of the sect's ruin. However, Xiaoyao sect is still good. The Yuanying Grand Elder Li Mufang of this generation is only more than 700 years old. Generally, Yuanying cultivators have a lifespan of at least 1,200 years. In addition, they can take some high-level life-extending spiritual objects and live another 200 or 300 years. Normally, they can persist to about 1,500 years old. As long as the luck is not too bad, Xiaoyao sect should have enough time to cultivate new Yuanying cultivators. Chapter 37 King Market. Qinghefang Market is located at the intersection of several rivers in the west of Qing County, and is located on a second-level medium-grade spiritual vein. It is the only market in Qing County. It was established 1,000 years ago by a Jinden cultivator of Xiaoyao sect and several major foundation building families in Qing County. There are more than 100 shops of various sizes in Qinghefang, most of which are rented to local Immortal cultivation families of various sizes in Qing County, and some are rented to casual cultivators who have been doing business in Qing County for many years. Most of the shops are engaged in the operation of first-level monsters, spiritual herbs, talismans, magic tools, elixirs, and other raw materials and supplies. There are also a small number of bookstores and grocery stores that sell various low and medium-level exercises, as well as restaurants and inns that are convenient for visitors to the market to eat and live. Xiaoyao sect occupies 40% of the market share of Qinghofang, and the remaining 60% of the market share belongs to other foundation-building families in Qing County. For this reason, Xiaoyao sect also has to appoint a foundation-building monk to guard this market all year round, and the 4 major foundation-building families in Qing County that have obtained the remaining market shares also need to appoint monks to help guard and manage here. According to the rules set by Xiaoyao sect at the beginning of the establishment of the market, any immortal cultivation family in Qing County, as long as there is a foundation-building monk in the family, will automatically be promoted to the foundation-building immortal family, and can share the shares of Qinghofeng with other foundation-building families, but they must also appoint foundation-building monks to take turns to help guard the market. If the foundation-building immortal family loses all the foundation-building monks, it will also be downgraded to the Qi Refining immortal family. If it is unable to send out foundation-building combat forces to guard the market, it will also automatically lose this share in Qinghofeng. Among the 4 major foundation-building families in Qing County today, the Wang family is the strongest and occupies the largest share of Qinghofeng City. The Jin family, which has just become a foundation-building family, can naturally get the least share now. In order to maintain order in Qinghofeng market and prevent people from making trouble, Xiaoyao sect specially relied on this second-level middle-grade spiritual vein to arrange a second-level defense formation in the market. In addition, there are 2 foundation-building cultivators guarding here all year round. Even if 3 or 5 foundation-building masters come at the same time, it is impossible to break through the defense formation of Qinghofeng in a short time. Once a large number of foreign enemies come to attack the market, the Wang family and the major immortal cultivation families nearby will also come to rescue quickly. After all, the major immortal cultivation families in Qinghofeng market now have more or less rented shops, and the rise and fall of the market is also related to the direct interests of the major families in Qing County. After advancing to the 5th level of Qi Refining, Qingming came to Qinghofeng for the first time. This time he came here to purchase some mid-level talisman, making materials and elixirs to increase the speed of cultivation. Although he got a source of talisman-making materials from Taoist Penglu in Funiu Mountain, the number of casual cultivators coming to Funiu Mountain was limited after all. Taoist Penglu collected more talisman-making materials in the first few times, and the talisman-making materials sent to Qingming later became less and less, and now it is completely insufficient for Qingming. For this reason, Qingming had to choose to come to Qinghofeng. Fortunately, his cultivation has improved now, and Uncle Jiu is more relieved about his going on a long journey. Lingyuan Mountain is hundreds of miles away from Qinghofeng. Qingming set out in the morning and didn't arrive at Qinghofeng until the afternoon of the next day. Although he had come here several times in the past, he mostly followed the elders of the clan to transport or purchase materials needed by the family. He didn't stay in the market for too long, and he was actually not that familiar with Qinghofeng. When he arrived at the gate of Qinghofeng market, he saw several cultivators in the Qi Refining period guarding the gate of the market. The leader was a cultivator in the late Qi Refining period. Judging from the clothes, Qingming also knew that this was a Qi Refining disciple of Xiaoyao sect. The disciples of the big sects were naturally arrogant when facing the low-level cultivators or independent cultivators from small families. Qingming had also felt this a few months ago in Yianfang. After carefully registering his identity at the door, Qingming received a token that could prove his identity and successfully entered Qinghofeng market. The entire Qinghofeng was like Mujiao town, with a street running through the middle, and dozens of tall and short buildings and shops scattered on both sides. There were also many houses where mortals lived on the north side of the street. In addition to the cultivators, there were also some ordinary mortals who lived here all year round. The mortals living here are all under the jurisdiction of Qinghofeng by Xiaoyao sect. Once there is a cultivation family in Qing County that can no longer protect the mortals under its jurisdiction, or if they want to move away from this place, the large number of mortals that cannot be taken away will generally be uniformly assigned to Qinghofeng by Xiaoyao sect and directly under the jurisdiction of the Xiaoyao sect's garrisoned cultivators. Once the mortals here are born with spiritual roots, except for those with outstanding spiritual roots, they will be directly sent to Xiaoyao sect for cultivation. Most of them will become casual cultivators. Many casual cultivators in Qing County come from here. There is also a large piece of flat open space on the south side of the street, which is specially left for those casual cultivators who want to set up stalls on a whim. As long as they hand over a low-level spiritual stone to the cultivator who manages this place, they can set up stalls in the open space for a whole day, and during this period they will be protected by the market, without having to worry about others making trouble or enemies seeking revenge. It is almost dark, and there are still many casual cultivators on the open space who are reluctant to leave. Qinghofang Market has always been relatively peaceful, and is friendly to all kinds of independent cultivators. It has a good reputation in the northeast of Uyghur. Although most of the goods sold in the market are first-level spiritual objects, there are occasionally some second-level spiritual objects that flow out, which also attracts cultivators from nearby counties to come. The Song family also rents a shop in Qinghofang, which is currently managed by the fourth uncle Song Changqiu. Song Changqiu is the fourth oldest in the Song family and helps the family run the shop in Qinghofang all year round. The Song family has only one shop in Qinghofang, which usually sells some spiritual talismans, spiritual medicines, magic tools and other items. It also purchases monsters, spiritual herbs and other first-level materials from various independent cultivators. Relying on this shop, the Song family can once again obtain a profit of about 100 spiritual stones every year, which is also one of the important sources of income for the Song family. Song Qingming went directly to the Song family shop on the south side of the street. As soon as he entered the door, he saw several mortal servants of the Song family busy greeting a casual cultivator who was shopping in the store. Song Qingming was about to ask when he happened to see Song Changqiu coming out of the back hall, and hurriedly greeted him with a smile. "Qingming, meet your fourth uncle. Oh, Qingming is here. Last time I returned to Funiu, I heard that your cultivation had broken through the 5th level of Qi Refining. I didn't believe it. I didn't expect that you would catch up with me so quickly at such a young age. Among the younger generations of the family, there are Yuan kings. It's really formidable to be young." Song Changqiu was also a little surprised to see Song Qingming coming in. Seeing that Song Qingming's cultivation had now caught up with him, he was also happy for him from the bottom of his heart. Fourth uncle Song Changqiu was just a cultivator with 5 spiritual roots. He was not very interested in the way of cultivation. He gave up his own cultivation early and came out to manage the family's industries outside. Now he is over 70 years old, and his cultivation is only the 5th level of Qi Refining. However, after Song Changqiu took over the family shop in Qinghofang, he had a good understanding of business and was very good at dealing with people in the market. The family shop was doing much better in his hands than before. More than 10 years ago, Song Changqiu met a female cultivator in the market. The two of them became Taoist couples and now have several children. The family has been living in this market and is very happy. Fourth uncle, don't tease me. My talent is not comparable to that of my third brother. I was lucky enough to have some opportunities to break through my cultivation. Song Qingming shook his head and said modestly. Song Changqiu smiled and continued, aren't you still stationed in Lingyuan Mountain? You came to the market this time because your family had something to do. There's nothing to do at home. I came here by myself. My nephew has been learning to make talismans recently, and I want to come to the market to purchase some talisman making materials. I don't know which store in the market sells talisman making materials. My nephew wants to purchase more at a time, so please give me some advice. Fourth uncle, after listening, Song Changqiu frowned and said, Qingming, you are still young, you should put more attention on cultivation, and you must not neglect your own cultivation because of talisman making. Song Qingming lowered his head and smiled bitterly. Fourth uncle, you also know that cultivation also requires spiritual stone resources. I am learning to make talismans so that I can have more room for cultivation in the future. Chapter 38 Song Changqiu. Well, since you know what's going on, I won't say much. I have a poor spiritual root, and I'm not that persistent in cultivation in this life. I can only come out to do what I can for the family. Don't learn from me. You should work hard to cultivate and strive to make more contributions to the family. Song Changqiu looked at the young nephew in front of him, and sighed with some envy. If he was still as young as him, he would definitely not give up the way of cultivation so early. Song Qingming nodded silently, looking at the fourth uncle in front of him. His heart was also mixed. He knew in his heart that the way of cultivation really pays too much attention to talent and opportunity. If he hadn't had the opportunity in the past few years, he would be just like many low-level cultivators like Song Changqiu in the world of immortal cultivation, and he would also be a hopeless person. Seeing that Song Qingming didn't speak, Song Changqiu smiled and changed the subject. You came here mainly for the materials for making talismans, right? Our shop usually collects some, but you came at an unlucky time. The second elder came to the market a few days ago, and most of the materials were given to him to take back to Funiu Mountain. You can go to the east of the market. The shops there are relatively large, and the materials for making talismans, elixirs, and magic tools are relatively complete. It's getting late today, so you can stay here first, and you can go there first tomorrow. My nephew is sorry to bother you, fourth uncle. Song Qingming smiled and bowed to Song Changqiu. The sun was setting, and it was soon sunset. It was a rare trip for Song Qingming to Qinghefang, so Song Changqiu arranged for the shop to close early today and asked his Taoist partner to arrange a sumptuous dinner. Song Changqiu's Taoist partner, named Wang Zhonghua, was a casual cultivator in Qinghefang. His ancestors were also a family of immortal cultivators in Qing County. More than 100 years ago, the Wang family offended another more powerful family, and the other party and several casual cultivators with high cultivation destroyed the mountain gate. Fortunately, the other party took into account the morality of the cultivation world and did not dare to implicate mortals. In the end, some of these mortals without the protection of the cultivators drifted to other nearby cultivation families, and the rest were moved to Qinghefang by the Xiaoyao sect cultivators. Wang Zhonghua's ancestor was one of them. Wang Zhonghua was also a cultivator with 5 spiritual roots. Because of his poor spiritual roots, he was not accepted by the Xiaoyao sect and became a casual cultivator. He often wandered in Qinghefang, so he met Song Changqiu. The life of casual cultivators was not easy. They needed spiritual stones everywhere. Wang Zhonghua also had to take care of some mortal relatives in Qinghefang. In order to have a better life in the market, she became a Taoist partner with Song Changqiu. The two have lived together for more than 10 years and have given birth to a son and a daughter. Song Changqiu had no hope in his path, so he put all his hopes on the next generation. Not only did he become a Taoist partner with Wang Zhonghua, but he also took in several concubines in the market. He already had 4 or 5 children, and his life was quite enjoyable. He now hopes that among his children, 1 or 2 geniuses with spiritual roots can emerge to inherit his legacy. The dinner prepared by Wang Zhonghua was very good. Not only did she fry several of her specialty dishes, she also cooked a pot of spiritual fish soup. The spiritual fish not only contained a lot of spiritual energy, but also was beneficial to cultivation. After being cooked by the spiritual chef, it was still a rare delicacy. Song Qingming ate it with relish. In her early years, Wang Zhonghua was in the market. In order to earn spiritual stones, she learned the skills of spiritual chef. Seeing Song Qingming was impressed by her skills, she was very happy. After she and Song Changqiu got together, she had been living in Qinghefang. She was not very familiar with the clansmen of the Song family in Funiu. It was rare for her to have the opportunity to meet the young monks of the Song family from Funiu. Naturally, she wanted to perform well and win the favor of these young people so that she could have a better status in front of the monks of the Song family in the future. Song Qingming naturally did not think of Wang Zhonghua's little thoughts. For him, it was rare to eat such delicious spiritual food, so he naturally had to enjoy it. On the second morning, Song Qingming greeted Song Changqiu early and came to the east of Qinghefang. Hearing the shouts coming from his ears, Song Qingming looked at the shops on both sides of the street slowly and soon found a relatively large shop selling talisman-making materials. Although Qinghefang is not as good as Gianfang, it is not difficult for Song Qingming to buy the low-level materials and elixirs he needs. Song Qingming first found several material stores and spent more than 100 spirit stones to buy enough mid-level talisman-making materials for him for several months. In order not to attract attention, he found some shops opened by casual cultivators. It was a bit difficult to purchase elixirs. There were not many alchemists among casual cultivators, and most of them were employed by major families in Qing County. If you want to buy elixirs, you can only go to the shops opened by local immortal cultivation families. After thinking about it, Song Qingming still found a family shop that was relatively distant from the Song family and spent 30 spirit stones to purchase a bottle of nourishing Qi pill. The reason why Song Qingming wanted to buy elixirs was that it had been almost half a year since he went to the floating cloud mountains. Guo, who had been providing him with elixirs for the past 2 years, seemed to have disappeared and had never come to Funiu Mountain again. Song Qingming didn't know why. He didn't have many elixirs left in his hands. This time when he came to Qinghofang, he bought some by the way. In case Guo really didn't come to Funiu Mountain, he wouldn't have to worry about the elixirs for cultivation in the short term. It took more than an hour for Song Qingming to easily buy what he wanted in Qinghofang. Touching the storage bag that was almost full on his waist, Song Qingming walked out of the last shop with satisfaction. Song Qingming walked out of the door of the shop happily. Just as he was about to leave, he was attracted by a shop opposite. Although this shop was not big, its location was much better than that of the Song family's shop. It was just that it was already noon, and the shops around were all open to welcome customers. This shop was very abnormal at this time. The door was closed and a sign of closing was hung. Liu's spiritual treasure pavilion. Is this the Liu family's shop? Song Qingming looked at the several golden characters on the shop sign and began to get nervous, but on the surface he pretended to be calm and left quickly. Fortunately, the shop was closed at that time, and no Liu family cultivators should have noticed him. Song Qingming was a little scared along the way and almost went in the wrong direction. A few months ago, during the trip to the floating cloud mountains, he accidentally got the storage bag of Liu Xianlong, the head of the Liu family. Now seeing the Liu family's shop, he naturally felt guilty and was afraid that he would be recognized by the Liu family cultivators. After returning to the Song family shop, Song Changqiu happened to be in the shop. Seeing Song Qingming coming back, Song Changqiu asked about his purchase of spiritual objects with concern, and soon got the answer from Song Qingming's smiling face. The uncle and nephew went to the back hall and found a room to chat again. After a while, Wang Zhonghua personally brewed 2 cups of spiritual tea and sent them in. By the way, fourth uncle, last time I heard from the second elder that the patriarch of the Liu family in Qingming Mountain died. Is this true? Today, I saw the Liu family's shop closed in broad daylight in the market. After chatting for a while, Song Qingming pretended to be casual and asked about the situation of the Liu family. If Liu Xianlong was really dead as the second elder said, it would be great for him, and he would have less worries in his heart. Earlier, I heard from someone in the market that their patriarch was not doing well after returning from the floating cloud mountains. It is not certain whether he is dead or not. The Liu family suffered heavy losses in the floating cloud mountains last time. It is said that they lost 7 or 8 cultivators. I am afraid that they will not be able to recover for more than 10 years. Liu Xianlong is a great man of his generation. It's a pity. Song Changqiu stroked the beard at the corner of his mouth and sighed. Song Changqiu has always been popular in Qinghofang and is well informed. A lot of the news he got from Funiu was heard by him in the market. However, a lot of the news he got was not entirely true. After all, there are all kinds of people in a place like the market, and it is normal to have a few people who like to exaggerate. The truth of a lot of news still needs to be judged by the people who get the news. Chapter 39. The storm is coming. Song Qingming has been feeling uneasy for the past few months because of the storage bag he picked up from Liu Xianlong. This time when he came to Qinghofang, in addition to purchasing the materials and elixirs he needed, he also wanted to find out about Liu Xianlong's situation and see if he was really dead. After all, he was still a young man in his early 20s, and his mentality was not as sophisticated as those of the experienced monks. The wealth he got inexplicably made him feel guilty from time to time. When he walked out of the floating cloud mountains, he was sometimes even afraid that he was in a dream and would wake up and return to the time when he had just left Qing County. It was a pity that he still didn't get the answer he wanted from his fourth uncle. The Liu family's shop was abnormally closed again, which made him start to worry again. After having dinner in the afternoon, Song Qingming said goodbye to Song Changqiu and his wife, and left Qinghofang with some worries. In Qinghofang, in the Liu family compound, Liu Yuanfeng looked at the communication talisman he had just received in his hand, and his face was a little ugly as he paced alone in the yard. Liu Yuanfeng was a foundation-building cultivator stationed in Qinghofang by the Xiaoyao sect. He had been stationed in Qinghofang for nearly 30 years. Qinghofang had always been peaceful without any major mistakes. He did not expect to receive a message of accountability from the elders of the sect's General Affairs Hall today, which really made him unhappy. Liu Yuanfeng's right hand flashed with a flash of light, and he quickly cast a spell. A golden light instantly shot out of his hand and flew out of the yard. Not long after, A mature-looking cultivator in white clothes quickly came to the yard. When Lu Yuanfeng saw the person coming, he quickly said, "Wenke, we just received news from our sect's Uncle Guangling that the Liu family of Qingming Mountain secretly mined the 5-element spiritual fruit trees in the sect's territory without the sect's knowledge. You take a few people to the market town to seal up the Liu family's shop first, and have the Liu family's cultivators guard it first." After listening to this, Yuan Wenke replied embarrassedly, "Master, the Liu family's shop in the market town has been closed for almost half a month, and the people have probably already withdrawn. Liu Xianlong has always been honest and upright in the past, but this time he is too bold. He actually dared to set his sights on the 5-element spiritual fruit trees. Isn't he courting death? Forget it. It seems that Liu Xianlong has thought of it a long time ago. You arrange for someone to notify the Wang family about this matter, and ask them to send someone to go to Qingming Mountain with us tomorrow," Lu Yuanfeng said indifferently with his hands behind his back. "Master, I wonder how the sect is going to deal with the Liu family this time. Do I need to tell Fifth Junior brother about this? Liu Xianlong must die. Uncle Guangling has said in the letter that all other cultivators of the Liu family will be sent to Huan Mountain to mine ore for 30 years. Don't tell Hulin about it for now. I will naturally protect those who should be protected. Qingming Mountain will be temporarily under the management of the sect when the time comes. We will see if the nearby families can accept some of the mortals under the rule of the Liu family. The rest will be directly moved to King Hefang." Lu Yuanfeng's tone was somewhat sad, and then he waved his hand to signal Yuan Wenke to retreat. Yuan Wenke was the first disciple Lu Yuanfeng accepted after he established his foundation. He has always been very loyal to this master and has won Lu Yuanfeng's trust. He has been stationed in King Hefang with him for nearly 30 years. The reason why he asked this question was entirely because of his 5th junior brother Holin. His Taoist partner happened to be a female cultivator from the Liu family. The two had always had a loving relationship. This time, something happened to the Liu family, and they were afraid that they would be implicated. Seeing that Master Lu Yuanfeng had already made up his mind, Yuan Wenke walked out with peace of mind. King County, Baoshi Peak Du family. In the Du family meeting hall, Du Shaoying, the head of the Du family, looked at the several Du family elders in front of him with a somewhat annoyed look on his face. "Shaokeng, tell me, what happened to Yuchen? You all came back. Why did he suddenly join the Xiaoyao sect?" Du Shaoying looked at Du Shaokeng, who was a little trembling in front of him, and asked with an unhappy face. Du Shaokeng was unlucky. He was in charge of leading the team on this trip to the floating cloud mountains. A cultivator of the Du family happened to be close to the clan leader Du Shaoying. When he came back, he was speechless when Du Shaoying asked him questions. Du Yuchen was a younger generation that the family did not pay much attention to. Du Shaokeng originally thought that he was dead after being dragged into the pond. It was not until he came back that Du Shaokeng found out that the soul mark he left on the family tree was still lit. He was a little happy to know that he was still alive. Until today, he heard the news from the Du family cultivators in Xiaoyao sect that Du Yuchen had joined Xiaoyao sect and became an inner disciple. Du Shaokeng was shocked on the spot. He really didn't know whether Du Yuchen was crazy or the person who recruited him from Xiaoyao sect was crazy. The Xiaoyao sect, a large sect, has always been strict in recruiting disciples. Generally, cultivators of civilian origin who join the sect have to start as humble outer disciples. Such disciples are recruited 100 or 200 people every year, and the competition is very fierce. Only those who have a backer in the sect, or are recommended by the major vassal Immortal cultivation families, can directly become inner disciples, but the requirements are relatively high. They must be cultivators with more than 3 spiritual roots, or people with very talented Immortal cultivation skills. Otherwise, they will become outer disciples, which is not as comfortable as cultivating in the family. Du Yuchen's spiritual roots are not very talented, nor do he have any particularly powerful Immortal cultivation skills. He doesn't know what Xiaoyao sect likes about him. Du Shaokeng thought hard for a long time, but still couldn't understand. Facing Du Shaoying's questioning at this moment, he could only shrink his head and be speechless. Although the Du family gained a lot from this trip to the floating cloud mountains, the inexplicable loss of 2 cultivators still had a great impact on the family. The Du family didn't have many cultivators to begin with, and they lost 2 young cultivators all of a sudden. It's no wonder that the patriarch Du Shaoying was so angry. However, although they knew that Du Yuchen had joined the Xiaoyao sect, They did not know the details. Diacheng had now become an inner disciple of the Xiaoyao sect and had a chance to build a foundation. His status had changed dramatically, and the people of the Du family did not know how to face him in the future. At the Liu family in Qingming Mountain, Liu Xianlong was sitting on the bed. In front of the bed sat several elders of the Liu family, and everyone had a look of panic on their faces. In a few months, although Liu Xianlong's injuries had recovered a lot, his face was still a little broken. After this trip to the floating cloud mountains, it seemed that his blood and energy had been drained, and he instantly became an old man who was about to die. Liu Xianlong coughed lightly, sat up straight, and asked a Liu family elder next to him softly, "Xianquan, have all the people in the market been arranged to withdraw?" "Don't worry, clan leader, the shops in Qinghefang have been closed. Meng Cheng and his men had withdrawn 10 days ago, leaving only mortals to guard the shops," Liu Xianquan quickly replied to the respected clan leader. Liu Xianlong has been the head of the Liu family for nearly 40 years. When he took over as the head of the family, the Liu family was still in decline. The various forces near the Liu family were eyeing this once foundation-building family. Liu Xianlong relied on his extraordinary courage and quickly stabilized the family's defeat, allowing the Liu family to slowly recover a lot of vitality. Over the years, he has always been deeply loved by the clan members. Liu Xianlong nodded and said, "A few days ago, Meng Chen sent a message from Xiaoyao sect that someone presented a water spirit fruit tree to Xiaoyao sect and became an inner disciple of Xiaoyao sect. It should be the pearl we found this time. I'm afraid that our trip to the floating cloud mountains has been exposed. Could it be the people who were dragged into the pool by the black-feathered python that day? That person is really lucky. Not only did he not die, but he actually found the location of the water spirit fruit tree." Alice, another elder of the Liu family, sighed and said. Liu Xianlong thought for a while and said, "It should be. I later sent people to check on the people who were swept into the pond that day. There were 3 people in total. Wu Ziyan of the Wu family had died in the pond. Song Qingming of the Song family also came back a month later. Only Du Yuchen of the Du family disappeared and has not returned until now. It should be this person who went to Xiaoyao sect. My storage bag must have fallen into his hands, which is why he guessed the location of the water spirit fruit tree. Damn Du family, I didn't expect that our Liu family worked hard for decades, but in the end they got the advantage. If we had known this, we might as well have directly presented this water spirit fruit tree to Xiaoyao sect." The more the elder of the Liu family spoke, the redder his eyes became. He hated the Du family in his bones. Liu Xianlong smiled bitterly. "We failed today, and it's not entirely our own problem. Man proposes, God disposes. It's also because our Liu family is unlucky. I have asked Meng Xin to leave Qingming Mountain. The family can't drag her down. She can only rely on herself in the future." Chapter 40 Moon Lake Village. Song Qingming returned to Lingyuan Mountain with a trepidation. Seeing that he looked worried, Song Changxin thought that he had encountered something on the way back, and asked a few questions with concern. Song Qingming realized that he was indeed too worried. Even if the Liu family suspected him, he could just return the things to them. Now he also had a stable source of spiritual stones. As long as he was willing to spend time making talismans, he would definitely not lack cultivation resources in the future. Thinking of this, Song Qingming finally calmed down and laughed with Song Changxin. Since he had an accident 2 years ago, Uncle Jiu had been more concerned about him. Every time he was going on a long trip, Song Changxin would give him some advice, which Song Qingming was very moved by. Then, in order to adjust himself, Song Qingming started making talismans day and night again. He was so busy that he finally stopped thinking about the Liu family. What he didn't expect was that a few days after returning to Lingyuan Mountain, his 13th uncle Song Changxin, who came to Lingyuan Mountain to deliver supplies as usual, brought in astonishing news. 2 days ago, for unknown reasons, the Liu family of Qingming Mountain was expelled from the Xiaoyao sect overnight. Except for a few Liu family monks who were outside, more than 30 Liu family monks were all sent to the mines by the Xiaoyao sect to serve. The clan leader Liu Xianlong committed suicide on the spot. Since then, there has been no more Liu family of Qingming Mountain in Qing County. After hearing the news that Liu Xianlong had died, Song Qingming did not come back to his senses for a long time. He really did not expect that he had just let go of this matter, and he did not expect that the Liu family, which had made him worried a few days ago, disappeared overnight. After hearing this news, Song Qingming, who should have been very happy, did not smile at all. Instead, his face was heavy. The sect was high and mighty, and it was not easy for a small family like the Song family to survive. If they were not careful for a moment, they might end up like the Liu family overnight. Song Qingming thought that the annihilation of the Liu family by the Xiaoyao sect was most likely related to the water spirit fruit in Liu Xianlong's storage bag. Now that this spirit fruit was in his possession, it might also bring such a catastrophe to the Song family. After getting Liu Xianlong's storage bag, he thought about this problem more than once. The water spirit fruit looked like a spiritual object that had just been picked not long ago. Could it be that the trip to the floating cloud mountains, organized by the Liu family, was really for the water spirit fruit? Now the sudden destruction of the Liu family was very likely related to this object. The 50,000 mortals under the jurisdiction of Qingming Mountain, except for a small number of people who had to move to Qinghefang, were all divided up by nearby families, most of which were accepted by the Wang family. Even the Song family was allocated more than 2,000 people. The fourth elder who managed the family's affairs racked his brains to arrange for these 2,000 people, and had to send his family monks to send 200 of them to Lingyuan Mountain for resettlement. When Song Changshan came this time, he also informed Song Changshan and Song Qingming in advance that they should quickly arrange for people to build a new mortal residence in the next few days so that they can be ready to receive the 200 mortals of the Liu family at any time. Song Changshan seemed to have been accustomed to the ups and downs of the families in the cultivation world. After hearing this news, he just nodded and had a headache about how to arrange these mortals. Lingyuan Mountain is located in a remote area, and there are not many cultivated fields. The original food supply has to be supplemented by Funiu every year. Now that there are 200 more people, the existing food is definitely not enough. After discussing with Song Changshan and Song Qingming, they plan to reclaim some new fields in Lingyuan Mountain. Otherwise, relying on Funiu to help supply food in the future is definitely not a long-term solution. Now that Mujiao town has added 2,000 people, Funiu must be very tight. If we can solve this problem on our own in Lingyuan Mountain, it will be much easier in the future, and we don't have to look forward to Funiu to send food every time. After several days of investigation, the two planned to arrange the new mortal residential area on the west side of Crescent Lake. This was where Song Qingming originally lived. There were 4 or 5 small buildings next to it, but no one had ever lived there. Song Qingming arranged for the mortals in the mine to build a small house at the location of the black iron mine on the west side, so that they could live directly next to the mine, which would also make it convenient for him to visit the mine frequently in the future. Under the leadership of more than a dozen martial artists, the villagers of Lingyuan Mountain began to cut down trees on the mountain and build new houses. Song Changshan also specially arranged for the miners to stop working for a few days to help build the houses. Soon, under the leadership of Song Qingming, the villagers of Lingyuan Mountain spent half a month to finally build more than 20 new houses. Together with a few empty houses, they could barely accommodate 200 people. After the new houses were built, in order to facilitate management, Song Changshan moved some of the original mortal miners in Lingyuan Mountain to the newly built houses on the west side of Crescent Lake. After the mortals of the Liu family arrived, they were dispersed and arranged to blend in with the natives of Lingyuan Mountain. This is also a common method used by major immortal cultivation families when accepting mortals from other families. On the one hand, it can allow them to integrate into the new environment faster, and on the other hand, it is also to prevent them from gathering together and causing trouble. Only a few days after Song Qingming and his team built the houses, Song Changshan and his fourth brother Song Qingru escorted the 200 mortals to Lingyuan Mountain. Under the arrangement of the original village chief of Lingyuan Mountain, these mortals were soon assigned to their own houses. After statistics, there are now more than 500 mortals in Lingyuan Mountain. There is no shortage of miners in the black iron vein now. After thinking for a while, Song Qingming decided to temporarily divide the 500 mortals into 2 parts. The mortals living on the original east side of Crescent Lake will continue to mine in the mine, and the mortals living on the west side will be arranged to reclaim some fields next to the village. Because Lingyuan Mountain is located in the deep mountains, there are not many places for fertile land to be reclaimed. Song Qingming can only take these people, use magic tools to cut a mountain and open the stone, divert water and build canals, and reclaim dozens of acres of land to grow food. He also went to Moujiao town and got a batch of fish fry and put them into Crescent Lake. He arranged several families to take care of the breeding. It took nearly 2 months to solve this thorny food problem. Fortunately, he has a residual map that can quickly restore his mana. During this period of time, except for the time to make talismans, he did not delay his practice. However, his uncle Song Changson did not know this, and was afraid that he was too hard during this period and delayed his practice, so he sent him some spiritual rice so that he could make up for some progress in his practice. Song Qingming couldn't refuse, lest Song Changson would worry about him all the time. 3 months passed in a busy way, and these mortals of the Liu family finally settled down. Fortunately, these people were relatively easy to manage, because the master family was in trouble, and compared with those who had to migrate to Qinghefang hundreds of miles away, they were very lucky to come to the Song family. Mortals are not like cultivators who are immune to all diseases. When a large number of mortals migrate over long distances, some people with weaker constitutions will easily fall on the road. Moreover, those high-ranking cultivators of the Xiaoyao sect will not care too much about the lives of these mortals. As long as there is no large-scale death, they will not help at all. In order to take care of them, the fourth elder assigned many of the Liu family mortals who were not from the Liu family to Lingyuan Mountain this time. After they were dispersed, they were quickly integrated into the mortals of the Song family. For the convenience of management, Lingyuan Mountain, which was originally a village, was also divided into 2 by Song Qingming. The east side of Crescent Lake was still called Lingyuan Village, and the west half was given a new name, Yuhu Village. Song Qingyu's father was arranged to be the village chief of Yuhu Village. After the establishment of Yuhu Village, Song Qingming selected some talented mortals from the newly arrived Liu family mortals to enrich the Lingyuan Mountain's protective formation martial artists and mine guards. Song Qingming asked these people to increase their training intensity every day, and planned to take them to the mountains to hunt some wild animals after a while, which could also help replenish the rations in the mountains. Chapter 41 Uncle Nine leaves the mountain. Song Qingming spent most of his time in the past few months managing Lingyuan Mountain. He even went to Kaolu Mountain, which he used to go to every month, only once in the past 3 months. Uncle Song Changson saw that Song Qingming had become very familiar with managing mortals and mines in the past few years, so he simply handed over all the affairs of settling mortals to him. Song Qingming was so concerned about these things during this period because he knew that he would soon be in Lingyuan Mountain for 3 years. He wanted to handle all the affairs here as smoothly as possible before leaving, so that it would be convenient for him to hand over to the new resident family monks. Unexpectedly, Song Qingming was almost ready. Uncle Song Changson invited him into the house and told him an unexpected news. After these years of development, the population of Moujiao town has been growing every year. The family has now accepted thousands of mortals from the Liu family, so they can only build several new villages next to Moujiao town. Now the mortals of the family are managed by the 5th and Song Changling alone. It is really too busy. After discussing with the clan leader, the 4th elder decided to transfer Song Changson to help her first. In this way, only Song Qingming was left on Lingyuan Mountain. Song Changson also knew that Song Qingming's garrison period was about to expire, so he asked him to discuss it. Qingming, I just received a message from the 4th elder, asking me to return to Funiu Mountain to help Changling manage the mortals under the family's rule. Now the family is short of manpower, and you are already familiar with the situation in Lingyuan Mountain. The 4th elder and I have discussed it. Why not let you stay here to practice temporarily, and when I'm done with my work, I'll come back to replace you. What do you think? Song Changson was a little embarrassed when he spoke. Although what he said today was all arranged by the family, he was still a little afraid that Song Qingming would directly refuse. After all, as a cultivator choosing a place to practice, Funiu's spiritual veins must be better. Staying in Lingyuan Mountain will more or less delay the progress of practice. Song Qingming was also a little surprised to hear this news, but he didn't think too much. Although it would be better to return to Funiu's spiritual veins for practice, he didn't lack this little practice speed now. On the contrary, Lingyuan Mountain is more hidden, which is conducive to him hiding these spiritual objects on his body that cannot be seen by others. He didn't dare to let anyone know about the fragmentary map on his body, the things in Liu Xianlong's storage bag, and the Yuxin Sutra that he got inexplicably. When he thought about the fact that the Liu family was exterminated just because of a water spirit fruit, the value of this fragmentary map on his body was far more than that. If he could use it well, he might have a glimmer of hope to build a foundation in the future. Once those high-level cultivators knew about it, the Song family would definitely follow the footsteps of the Liu family, and the end might be even worse. As for the Yuxin Sutra, since Song Qingming practiced this technique, he felt more and more that the mystery of this technique was far from as simple as he thought at the beginning. Since practicing the Yuxin Sutra, Song Qingming slowly felt that his mana was much stronger than before. This technique seemed to have the mysterious effect of forging the spiritual energy in the body. The martial arts that can have such an effect are naturally not comparable to the Qinyu that Song Qingming originally practiced. Qinyu is just an ordinary Qi refining 5 elements martial arts. It is often easy to fall behind when facing the cultivators of the same level. It can only rely on external objects, such as magic tools and talismans to make up for its own strength. After practicing the Yuxin Sutra for more than 3 months, Song Qingming has already clearly felt that the spiritual power he now releases has improved a lot compared to before. After practicing the Yuxin Sutra for such a long time, his magic power must be much stronger than that of the cultivators who practice ordinary martial arts. If he is destined to unlock the martial arts above the foundation building, he may have even greater magical powers. This also made him feel more and more that this martial arts is extraordinary. Fortunately, he has not had time to copy this martial arts to the family, and no one else in the family knows that he has practiced this martial arts, otherwise it would be difficult for him to hide it. Now he is practicing the Yuxin Sutra and Qinyu at the same time. In front of others, ordinary Qi refining cultivators will definitely not be able to see the difference in his cultivation method. Even his uncle Song Changxin, who is in the late stage of Qi refining, has not felt that he has practiced other cultivation methods recently. Thinking of this, Song Qingming hesitated for a moment and agreed. Even if there was no such reason, facing Song Changxin who has taken good care of him in the past few years, Song Qingming really couldn't refuse. Seeing that Song Qingming did not refuse, Song Changxin was relieved and nodded with satisfaction. Among the young cultivators of the Qing generation in the family, except for Song Qing's, a genius with excellent spiritual roots, the cultivation of others is not high. Song Qingming can cultivate to the 5th level of Qi refining at the age of 23. Although there are some opportunities, he is already a diligent person. Don't worry, I will talk to the 4th elder when I go back this time and give you some more spirit stones. Try not to delay your cultivation. When I am not around, you have to take good care of Lingyuan Mountain and the black iron veins. Song Changxin, a hard-working cultivator, prefers diligent younger generations at home and has always been very caring about Song Qingming's cultivation. Uncle Jiu, Lingyuan Mountain will leave me alone for the time being. Qingming's cultivation is still low, and I'm afraid it's a bit beyond my ability. Song Qingming nodded, hesitated for a while, and then slowly told what he was worried about. Song Changxin smiled slightly, took out a red talisman from his storage bag and handed it to Song Qingming, saying solemnly, "This is a top-grade communication talisman, keep it well. If you encounter a high-level monster attack, you can release this talisman. The family will receive the news within an hour and send people to support. This talisman is not easy to come by in the family. Don't use it lightly unless it is necessary. In a few days, the 4th elder should arrange someone to help you, so there should be no problem on your side." Since Uncle Jiu has arranged it properly, nephew will naturally fulfill his mission. Song Qingming nodded and agreed, and the worry on his face disappeared. He has been operating the mountain protection formation of Lingyuan Mountain for several years. As long as he does not encounter those difficult high-level monsters, he has absolute confidence that nothing will go wrong. Even if a high-level monster attacks, using the communication talisman that Song Changxin just gave him, he can wait for the family reinforcements as long as he can hold on for an hour, which is not too difficult for him now. After Song Changxin gave him some instructions that day, he went back to pack his luggage and left Lingyuan Mountain under the setting sun. He was a cultivator in the late stage of Qi refining, so his speed was naturally much faster than Song Qingming, and he could easily return to Funiu Mountain before dark. After Song Qingming waited alone for a few days, he finally welcomed the family cultivator who helped him guard the place, his 6th brother Song Qing. Song Qing was 2 years older than Song Qingming, and his talent was even worse than Song Qingming. He was a cultivator with 5 spiritual roots. Although he practiced hard, his cultivation was only at the 4th level of Qi refining. Song Qing had a rather dull personality. In addition to practicing in seclusion, He helped in the family's spiritual fields. He was a spiritual plant master, and he might be more interested in flowers and plants than in people. Although Song Qingming didn't talk much with his sixth brother in the past, he knew that he had a relatively honest personality. Seeing that Song Qingming's cultivation had surpassed him now, Song Qing was somewhat envious of the opportunity of the seventh brother. Although he had poor spiritual talent and no great ambition, he had not given up on his own path. Seeing that someone around him had obtained an opportunity, he naturally looked forward to the day when he could also be blessed by heaven. However, opportunities were something that were hard to obtain by hiding at home and practicing hard. Song Qingming was able to be blessed by heaven only after he had experienced many life-threatening situations. After Song Qing arrived at Lingyuan Mountain, Song Qingming arranged him to the mine, responsible for inspecting and supervising the mining of the mineral veins. He himself went to the Crescent Lake to build a small house, responsible for guarding the Lingyuan Mountain formation and managing the mundane affairs of the mortals here, and by the way, guiding the martial artists in their skills. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, Opening Up the Spiritual Field. One day half a month later, Song Qingming was making talismans at home when Song Qing suddenly asked for a meeting. After hearing this, Song Qingming quickly put down the talisman pen in his hand, put away the unfinished talisman-making materials, sorted out the table and welcomed Song Qing in. When Song Qing saw Song Qingming, he didn't hesitate and asked directly, "Qingming, I don't know if you have a magic weapon to set up a spirit-gathering array. In the past 2 days, I found a vein with abundant spiritual energy in a valley on the west side of the Black Iron Mine. There happened to be a spring next to it. I want to cultivate a few acres of spiritual fields there. Can you help me set up a spirit-gathering array?" After Song Qing arrived at Lingyuan Mountain, he did not practice in seclusion all day, but wandered around Lingyuan Mountain. Song Qingming looked a little strange and didn't ask much. Now he knew that he wanted to open up some spiritual fields here. The Song family also has dozens of acres of spiritual fields in Funiu Mountain, which can produce tens of thousands of kilograms of spiritual rice every year. 30% of these spiritual rice must be handed over to Zioao sect, and 30% to the main family Wang family. The Song family can only keep 40% for themselves. In addition to supporting more than 20 cultivators in their own family, there is still a surplus of about 2,000 kilograms. The Song family puts these spiritual rice in Qinghefang, which can generate more than 200 spiritual stones of income for the Song family every year. It is now an important source of income for the Song family. I saw you wandering around these days, and I thought you were not used to living here. It turns out that you can't stay idle. It just so happens that I have a set of formation flags on me. I will go with you to see it later. Don't worry, leave the formation to me. The spirit gathering formation is a common formation that gathers spiritual energy in the spirit veins. It is generally arranged in spiritual fields and spiritual medicine gardens. Some cultivators will also deliberately arrange it in the cave where they practice, so that there will be sufficient spiritual energy when they break through their cultivation or practice. It is not difficult to set up a spirit gathering array. A low-grade array master like Song Qingming can easily set it up. When he was still in Lingyuan Mountain, he often helped other cultivators in the clan to set up such arrays, and he also had several sets of such array flags on him. Song Qingming followed his sixth brother and soon came to a valley not far to the west of the Black Iron Mine. This valley was located on the hillside on the right side of the mine, and it was just right to see the entire Black Iron vein from a high position. This place is dozens of feet high from the bottom of the mine, and the mountain wall is very steep. Ordinary mortals can't get up without external forces. Even the dozen or so innate martial artists who have some skills are a little dangerous to climb up. Song Qing was able to find this place, which shows that he had worked hard in the past 10 days since he came to Lingyuan Mountain. The valley is a triangular platform, only the sharp corner is slightly higher, with a radius of about 20 feet, and a stream flowing slowly. Spring water dripped out from the mountain cracks at the corners of the call day and night, trickling and merging into a small clear stream, flowing between the rugged rocks covered with weeds and thorns, passing through the center of the col and falling along the cliff, and finally converging into the Crescent Lake a few miles away. Song Qingming carefully felt the spiritual energy here, which was indeed more abundant than that at the foot of the mountain. With a little tidying up on the platform, it would be enough to open up 2 acres of spiritual fields. Taking out 5 3-inch sized formation flags from the storage bag, Song Qingming scattered these formation flags and buried them 3 feet underground in several places on the platform. He also took out a first-level formation plate and placed it in the center of the platform. After playing a set of spells, the ground of the platform fluctuated with spiritual energy, and the spiritual energy in the entire mountain was slowly guided by the gathering spirit formation to flow to this platform. After an hour, the spiritual energy slowly stabilized. Together, the two buried more than a dozen spiritual stones under the ground, where the spiritual field was to be opened. After a month, the spiritual gathering array slowly refined the spiritual stones inside, and the land here would be infiltrated with spiritual energy and become a first-grade low-grade spiritual field. After ordinary land becomes a spiritual field, some spiritual objects such as spiritual rice can be planted. The spiritual energy in the spiritual field is sufficient, which can also shorten the time for spiritual objects to mature. Like spiritual veins, spiritual fields are divided into high and low grades. For example, the lowest grade first-grade low-grade spiritual fields that Song Qingming and his 2 men refined, with the care of spiritual plant masters, can only shorten the time for spiritual objects to mature by 1 or 2%. If they can be planted directly on the second-grade spiritual fields, at least 30% of the time for spiritual objects to grow and mature can be shortened. Low-grade spiritual fields can only plant some spiritual rice and spiritual grass that are relatively easy to mature. Low-grade spiritual rice matures about once a year. It is the most profitable spiritual object in the spiritual field. All low-grade spiritual plant masters in the world of cultivation like to plant this kind of spiritual object. Other first-level spiritual herbs or spiritual medicines usually take more than 3 years to mature. Planting some in the spiritual fields will also bring a good income in the long run. The Song family only dared to plant some first-level spiritual rice and medicinal herbs in the spiritual fields of Funiu Mountain. After all, planting high-value spiritual objects often attracts the prying of other high-level cultivators. Without sufficient strength to protect, even if you have spiritual medicine seeds, you dare not plant them on a large scale, otherwise it will be easy to be targeted and cause the disaster of extermination. Only a few foundation-building families in Qing County dare to cultivate some second-level spiritual medicines at home. The spiritual trees and herbs in the world of cultivating immortals are graded according to their age. The age of the medicine is less than 200 years. It is a first-level spiritual medicine. The age of more than 200 years to 1,000 years is a second-level spiritual medicine. The age of 1,000 to 2,000 years is a third-level spiritual medicine. There are not many places in the entire Uyghur that can grow spiritual medicines above the 3rd level. It is said that there is a 4th-level spiritual medicine that has been more than 2,000 years old in the spiritual medicine garden of Zioao sect. After Song Qing opened up the spiritual field, he also became busy. With the help of Song Qingming, the two first spent a few days on the mountain wall, using magic tools to open up a staircase of more than 10 feet, so that it would be convenient for mortals below to go up in the future. Planting spiritual fields is definitely too much for cultivators alone, and some mortals are also needed to help with some trivial matters. The Song family also used hundreds of mortals to help cultivate the dozens of acres of spiritual fields in Funiu Mountain. It took a day to migrate 2 mortals from Crescent Lake to the platform to help Song Qing take care of the spiritual fields here. Being able to help the Immortal Master farm, the 2 mortals who were selected were very happy. In the future, they will follow the Immortal Master. As long as they work hard and conscientiously, they may get some spiritual objects from the immortals one day. After the spiritual energy in the spiritual field stabilized, Song Qing opened up a new cave on the side of the platform near the mountain, and moved it directly from the mine at the foot of the mountain to the platform. Except for the daily inspection of the mine, he basically stayed on the platform on weekdays. In addition to cultivation, he was busy in the spiritual field. After Song Qingming helped him set up the spirit gathering array, he soon received more than a dozen spirit stones from Song Qing to buy his spirit gathering array. Although Song Qing broke through the 4th level of Qi Refinement later than Song Qingming, he did not look embarrassed at all like Song Qingming just after the breakthrough. The reason for this is that he has a cultivator father to help support him. Song Qing is the son of his second uncle Song Chengwu. After embarking on the path of cultivation, although his innate spiritual roots are very poor, he has never lacked resources since his cultivation. He is also a spiritual plant master. On weekdays, he can earn some spirit stones by helping the family manage the spiritual field. In addition, his father subsidizes him. Compared with his brothers like Song Qingming who have to rely on themselves completely, his life is much better. Although Song King invested dozens of spirit stones to refine the 2 acres of spiritual fields, as long as he carefully cultivated spiritual objects for a few years and the quality of the spiritual fields stabilized, he could still earn a considerable amount of money even if he left here and sold the spiritual fields to others or directly handed them over to the family. It was relatively easy to earn spirit stones in the early stage of a profession, like a spiritual planter. Whether it was planting spiritual objects or cultivating new spiritual fields, it was a very stable income. However, spiritual planters usually hid in spiritual fields all year round and were not good at fighting or hunting monsters. Their combat effectiveness was lower than that of other cultivators. Most cultivators who chose this profession were people who could endure loneliness. Chapter 43. 3 years later. Time passed slowly. Song Qingming thought that he would only stay in Lingyuan Mountain for 1 more year. He did not expect that he would extend his stay for more than 3 years. It was not until the Liu family mortals who had settled down that his uncle Song Changsan returned to Lingyuan Mountain. Song Qingming packed up his luggage and returned to Funiu Mountain. His 6th brother Song King seemed to like this place. Although his stay time had expired, he unexpectedly took the initiative to apply to stay in Lingyuan Mountain. Under his careful management, the 2 acres of spiritual fields on the platform of the mine had almost stabilized their spiritual energy. From the desolate scene of weeds and rocks, it has now become a spiritual land with bright spiritual light and lush green leaves. 3 years have made Song Qingming's beautiful face more mature and stable. Now he is no longer as confused about his path of cultivation as when he first came to Lingyuan Mountain. Song Qingming has not only become a mid-level talisman maker, but his cultivation is also progressing steadily. In the past 3 years, with the blessing of the Jade Mysterious Scripture and the Remnant Map, he has broken through to the 6th level of Qi Refining a few days ago. Now, among the Qing generation in the Song family, except for his 3rd brother Song King's, Song Qingming's cultivation has surpassed other brothers and sisters. Song King's has outstanding spiritual roots. Since he started practicing, he has been far ahead of others in the Qing generation. Song Qingming received news from Funiu Mountain a month ago that Song King's has begun to break through the 7th level of Qi Refining in seclusion. With his spiritual root qualifications and the family's vigorous cultivation, he must have entered the late stage of Qi Refining now. Song King's is only 34 years old now. At this age, he can already compare with the direct descendants of those foundation-building clans if he cultivates to the 7th level of Qi Refining. According to his progress in cultivation, he will definitely be able to cultivate to the 9th level of Qi Refining before he is 50 years old. If he can get a foundation-building pill by then, there is hope for him to build a foundation. It was a pity that he was in a weak Qi Refining family like the Song family. If he continued to stay in the family, the Song family would definitely not be able to provide him with foundation-building pills. The total annual income of the Song family was only 400 to 500 spiritual stones. Excluding the consumption of the cultivators in the family, there were only 180 spiritual stones left every year. In the event of disasters and wars, they would need to take out spiritual stones from the treasury to subsidize. After 200 years of accumulation, they had only saved more than 2,000 spiritual stones. And a foundation-building pill cost at least 10,000 spiritual stones, which was a rare spiritual object with no market. In Uyghur, only the Xiaoyao sect would sell a little every 10 years, but only the families who had made great contributions to the sect were eligible to buy it. This meant that Qi Refining families below the foundation-building stage had no chance at all. The reason why the Jin family in Qing County had the opportunity to get a foundation-building pill 4 years ago was because their ancestors had a foundation-building cultivator who had made great contributions to the Xiaoyao sect. Only in Jin Guangaiao's generation did they have the opportunity to exchange for a foundation-building pill. If they leave Uyghur and go to other countries thousands of miles away, even if a Qi Refining family like the Song family can take out 10,000 spirit stones, they may not be able to successfully buy a foundation-building pill. They may be targeted before they return to Uyghur. At that time, they may lose all the savings of the family for hundreds of years, and they may also lose the lives of the entire family. Now that Song Qingming has completed the 6-year garrison mission and has at least 6 years of free practice time, he returned to the cave in Funiu Mountain. Song Qingming quickly applied to the family to go to the floating cloud mountains for some training. Now his cultivation is steadily improving at his own pace. In the past few years, he has saved a lot of spirit stones by making intermediate spirit talismans. He has no shortage of spirit stones for the elixir used for cultivation, and he has saved hundreds of spirit stones on his body. In the past few years, he has been nestling in Lingyuan Mountain. Uncle Jiu is not here. In order to be safer, Song Qingming dare not attack the monsters that invade the formation at will. When he encounters a high-level monster, he has to release a communication talisman to notify the family to come to the rescue. Now he feels that his fighting ability is much worse, and he has long wanted to find a place to practice his magical powers after practicing the Yuxin Sutra. This was also a plan he had thought of long ago. He would go to the floating cloud mountains to train for a few years, and then ask around for information on where he could get the foundation building pill. In the entire Wei Kingdom, apart from Xiaoyao sect, only the black market near the floating cloud mountains had foundation building pills. Although it was still early for him to build his foundation, he still had to make some preparations for himself. Although he had the water spirit fruit, which was equivalent to the foundation building pill, how to exchange the water spirit fruit for the foundation building pill was a problem that gave him a headache. It was of course the safest way for him to directly take the water spirit fruit to the Xiaoyao sect, but now that the Liu family had been involved, the Xiaoyao sect would definitely doubt the origin of the spiritual fruit on him. Even if he told the truth, it was inevitable that they would not believe him. If they used spiritual objects such as the questioning god talisman on him, the matter of the water spirit fruit would be easy to explain, but if the secret of the incomplete map on him was revealed, Song Qingming would be doomed. It is difficult for cultivators below the golden core to resist the questioning of the level 2 questioning god talisman. Once he steps into a place like Xiaoyao sect, it is difficult for him to control his own destiny. Only when he can form a golden core in the future can he avoid this danger. After arriving at the golden pavilion, Song Guke saw that he had made another breakthrough in his cultivation and could not help but feel a little envious, but he did not think much about it. He also felt that the reason why Song Qingming cultivated so quickly must be the credit of the few spiritual fruits he ate that year. He and the fourth elder Song Guke applied for 3 years to leave the family for training. Song Qingming did not expect that his move would alarm the clan leader Song Gushan. Song Gushan has been the head of the Song family for nearly 30 years. Although he has not made any obvious contributions to the development of the Song family in these years, he has a calm personality and a broad mind. He is also a clan leader deeply loved by the clan members. During the decades he has been in office, there has been no major events in the Song family, and the family has been moving forward steadily. Song Gushan just celebrated his 100th birthday last year. Although he looks rosy on the surface, the lifespan of a Qi refining stage is at most 120 years. Now he only has more than a dozen years left. He wanted to give some advice, but after a few words, looking at Song Qingming with a firm look in his eyes, Song Gushan finally nodded and agreed to let him go out for training. Qingming, although you have been to the floating cloud mountains, you should be more careful when you go out. There are many people who are deceitful and unscrupulous in the world of immortal cultivation. You must never trust others. This top-grade talisman is given to you for self-defense. It is also a little thought from me as an elder. The clan is not very well off, so don't despise it. After Song Gushan finished speaking, he handed over a green talisman in his hand, with a look of relief on his face. Among the young cultivators in the clan, there are not many cultivators like Song Qingming who took the initiative to go out for training. After all, it is more beneficial for cultivators to go out more often. Although it is safer to practice hard in the mountains, practicing too comfortably will also make cultivators more likely to encounter bottlenecks in their cultivation. Qingming, thank you for the treasure, clan leader. Song Qingming took the talisman and took a look. It was a rare top-grade green light talisman, which should be the treasured item of the clan leader, a top-grade talisman master. Although he was not short of talismans now, he also bought several top-grade talismans in Gianfeng last time. But even if Song Qingming himself could not use this kind of spiritual object for the time being, he could always go to the market to exchange it for spirit stones to buy other spiritual objects. For him, the more things that could be exchanged for spirit stones, the better. After putting the talisman into the storage bag, Song Qingming bowed his head to the two elders, and then slowly withdrew from the treasury pavilion. Song Guke watched Song Qingming leave, and said to the clan leader Song Gushan in front of him with some reluctance, Fifth brother, Qingming is one of the most promising young people in the family. Isn't it a bit rash to let him go to the floating cloud mountains to train alone? After listening, clan leader Song Gushan paused and said, "Don't worry, Qingming was able to return safely in such a critical situation in the floating cloud mountains last time, and he unexpectedly got a chance. This shows that he is not only calm, but also a lucky person. Going out to gain more experience will also be beneficial to their future path." Chapter 44 Homecoming. After leaving the hidden golden pavilion, Song Qingming was not in a hurry to go down the mountain. He first went back to his cave to prepare himself and stabilize his cultivation of the 6th level of Qi Refining. It was not until more than 10 days later that Song Qingming packed up his luggage and walked out of the cave, heading down the Funiu Mountain. After going down the mountain, Song Qingming prepared to return to his home in Moujiao town to see if his family, whom he had not seen for 3 years, and the shuling fruit he had placed at home were all safe. In the Song family's mansion, the lively and lovely Song Yunshan had become the Song family's treasure. He was already 3 years old and had long been accustomed to running around the yard in front and behind the Song family. One day, he came to an ordinary small house on the west side of the backyard. Just as he was about to go into the room to take a look, he pushed the door hard, but found that the door did not move at all, and there was a clanking sound of iron chains colliding on the door. Song Yunshan looked up curiously and saw that there were 2 huge iron chains tied above the small door. Just when he didn't know what to do, a servant of the Song family in simple clothes ran over in a hurry and carried Song Yunshan away. "Oh, my little son, you scared me to death." Fortunately, the old man and his family are not on the backyard now. "If someone saw me, they would beat me to death," this guy kept muttering all the way. But he didn't expect that all his words fell into the ears of Song Qingming, who had just walked into the Song family's gate. Now Song Qingming's cultivation has reached the 6th level of Qi Refining. He has long been smarter than ordinary people. It is difficult for him to hear any movement within 100 steps. As soon as he walked into the gate, Song Qingming saw his elderly parents waiting in front. His parents were nearly 50 years old, which was considered old among ordinary people. Although they all took some spiritual objects given by Song Qingming, and their bodies were still strong, Song Qingming, who had not returned home for 3 years, could still clearly see that his parents had many more wrinkles on their faces. Even his 4th brother, who was 3 years younger than him, now looked like his elder brother. Mortals are no more than 70 or 80 years old, and it is rare for them to live beyond 60 years old. He will have to go on a long journey next, and it will probably take a few years before he comes back. I don't think there will be many days to accompany his parents in the future. After chatting with his family in the hall, Song Qingming came to the small house that no one had entered for 3 years. His father Song Deshang, who was behind him, carefully took a key from his house and opened the iron lock that had been locked for 3 years. When Song Qingming left, he specifically told his parents and family that no one was allowed to enter the house when he was not there. Song Deshang had always obeyed his son, who had become an immortal, over the years. He was honest for most of his life and knew very well that without Song Qingming's care, the Song family would never have such a good life today. There was a sound of rustling of iron chains, and the iron lock was quickly removed by Song Deshang. After opening the door, a damp and musty smell rushed towards everyone. After Song Qingming walked in, Song Deshang deliberately stood at the door to block Song's mother and others who wanted to enter. The house that had not been occupied for 3 years was already covered with dust. There were still a few spider webs hanging on the beams and seats. Looking at the dilapidated and depressed scene in front of him, Song Qingming was very satisfied in his heart. His father still kept his words in his heart. His little house should have no one else come in the past few years, and the furnishings in the house were the same as when he left. Song Qingming walked gently to the place where he buried the water spirit fruit that year, wanting to make sure whether the things were safe. Now his family is considered a wealthy family in Moujiao town, and he is still afraid that he will encounter some blind thief who mistakenly enters here. After a brief inspection, he found that the forbidden method he had set up was still intact. Seeing that the water spirit fruit in the red jade box was still lying safely inside, Song Qingming was relieved and stood up to greet everyone outside to enter the room. Seeing that the house was dirty everywhere and there were bursts of pungent musty smells, everyone couldn't help but frown, until Song Qingming lit a spiritual incense wood in the house, and a burst of fragrant spiritual energy slowly blended into the house, and everyone felt better. This spiritual wood incense not only emits an attractive fragrance, but also has the effect of refreshing and relieving fatigue for cultivators. Lighting a stick during cultivation can make oneself enter the state of cultivation faster. Whether it is a cultivator or a mortal, smelling this spiritual incense will make you feel comfortable. However, although this kind of spiritual object is not valuable, it is rare in Wei State. It is a special spiritual object unique to Lu State in the south of Wei State. The few spiritual wood incense on Song Qingming's body were given to him by Qin Zhen when he was in Funiu Mountain. In the past few years, Qin Zhen has not only become a big customer who buys his talismans, but also a close friend of Song Qingming. The two occasionally drink a few glasses of spiritual wine in the Funiu Mountain Inn to exchange experiences in hunting monsters and cultivation. Qin Zhen is also a casual cultivator from Qinghefang. He is smart and likes to make friends. He soon made a name for himself in Funiu Mountain and became the leader of a team of casual cultivators. He often organized cultivators to go to Yunwu Mountain to hunt monsters. In the Funiu Mountain area, few people don't know him. Relying on a wide range of personal connections, although Qin Zhen is a casual cultivator with no one to rely on, he is still doing well in the vicinity of Funiu Mountain. Sometimes he can act as a middleman to help introduce some business. When Song Qingming asked Gao Yuiao to buy elixirs, Qin Zhen was the introducer. For this, Song Qingming also earned a lot of spiritual stones from him. For some reason, Song Qingming never saw Gao Yuiao come to Funiu Mountain after he came back from the floating cloud mountains. For this reason, Song Qingming specially asked Qin Zhen several times, but he still couldn't find out any news. Gao Yuiao seemed to have disappeared suddenly, so he could only go to Qinghefang to secretly buy the elixirs needed for cultivation in the past few years. Compared with the elixirs provided by Gao Yuiao, Song Qingming went to Qinghefang to purchase them. Not only was it troublesome, but the price was also more expensive. Unfortunately, alchemists were very rare. Song Qingming had been in Funiu Mountain for 6 years, and he had never seen anyone who could make an elixir better than Gao Yuiao. In the past few years, Song Qingming really missed Gao Yuiao, a beautiful woman with a graceful figure. After Song's mother entered the house, she felt very uncomfortable looking at the dust in the house. After getting Song Qingming's consent, she went outside to call a few servants to help clean the hut together. Half a day later, seeing Song Qingming sitting on the clean bed, Song's mother nodded with satisfaction and asked the cleaning servants to leave. "Saner, are you going to stay longer this time?" Looking at his mother's eyes full of expectation, Song Qingming couldn't help but feel touched. He smiled and nodded and said, "I have completed the family mission this time, and I have been able to practice freely for some time. I can stay longer this time, but I can't practice at home without spiritual energy, and I can't stay with my mother for a long time. I hope you will pay attention." After hearing this, Song Dejiang hurriedly said to Song's mother, "Saner is now an immortal. How can he live with us mortals every day? Don't delay his future. You guys only think about immortals all day long. Whether Saner is an immortal or a mortal, he is my son. Does cultivating immortals mean that he has to abandon his parents and family?" Hearing Song Dejiang's chattering, Song's mother was suddenly a little unhappy. Seeing his wife suddenly get angry, Song Dejiang panicked and opened his mouth to explain. When Song Qingming saw that the two elders were about to quarrel for him, he came out to smooth things over. He was going to go on a long trip next. He wanted to spend more time with his family this time. Seeing that his mother missed him so much, she patiently stayed at home for a few more days. A month later, Song Qingming said goodbye to his parents and family again, and carefully embarked on his own long journey to immortality. After Song Qingming left, his mother returned to the backyard and looked at the big iron lock on the door of the cottage, and sighed with some resentment. Chapter 45, Empty House. After leaving Mujiao town, Song Qingming headed north. This time, Song Qingming was not in a hurry to travel. He walked and stopped along the way. When he came across interesting places, he would stop and play. It was the spring equinox, and everything was revived and flowers were blooming everywhere. This way, he saw many beautiful scenery he had never seen before. Song Qingming made a secret resolution in his heart that if he succeeded in cultivation one day, he would definitely go out of Weiguo and take a good look at this world of immortal cultivation. The last time he went to the floating cloud mountains, Song Qingming had a thrilling journey and had no time to stop and appreciate the scenery. When he returned to Qing County from Guianfang, in order not to let his clansmen worry about his safety, he was also in a hurry to travel. He returned to Funiu early and had no time to see the beautiful scenery along the way. 20 days later, he crossed Ping'an County and changed his route to the northwest. When he walked slowly to Gianfang, more than a month had passed. The entrance to the market was the same as 3 years ago. People still had to queue up to verify their identities before entering. However, there seemed to be more monks guarding the gate than 3 years ago, and the interrogation was more detailed than last time. After entering the market, Qingming asked around and found out that a group of demon cultivators had come to the Funiu Mountains in recent years and had harmed many fellow cultivators. In order to prevent them from sneaking into the market, Xiaoyo sect increased its patrol efforts. Demon cultivators are cultivators who practice strange techniques from other worlds. After practicing these techniques, cultivators often change their minds and will do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. Some special techniques also have strange abilities to control others, and even blood sacrifices to mortal cultivators, which are against the way of heaven. The cultivators in this world hate the demon cultivators. Once the traces of demon cultivators are found in Uyghur, Xiaoyo sect will often go to war and wipe them out. However, demon cultivators are cunning and good at hiding among ordinary people in the mountains and fields, which often makes these big sects work in vain. Qingming wandered around Gianfang for a while. This market was not much different from 3 years ago. Soon he came to the shop where he bought a Taixia sword 3 years ago, but he didn't expect the scene in front of him to make him a little depressed. The grocery store where he bought a magic weapon that year has now been replaced by a store selling various spirit beasts, and the owner of the store has also been replaced by a middle-aged man with a beard. Qingming checked carefully and confirmed that he was in the right place. Then he stepped forward and asked, "Boss, is the Taoist Li who was originally here still here?" "Taoist Li? Which Taoist Li? I don't have a Li here." "Taoist, you are looking for pills, right? But he sold this shop to me a long time ago. If you want to find him, move forward 100 steps and you will find him." The middle-aged man pointed to a pill shop across the street. Pills? Wasn't this a grocery store originally? Qingming looked at the direction he pointed, and his mind was even more confused. After spending some time to ask clearly, Qingming learned that the Li's grocery store had long been deserted, and the store had now changed to several owners. Hearing this news, Qingming's heart trembled. He had already deeply experienced the mysteriousness of the Yuxuan Sutra. He wanted to come here to inquire about who the master who had deposited the Taixia sword was, but he seemed to have come a little late. Now the place has long been deserted, and he didn't know whether the original owner knew that there was a technique hidden in the sword. Qingming asked around in the surrounding streets. He was not unfamiliar with the master and apprentice who opened a store here 3 years ago, but they only knew that the two were in a master-apprentice relationship. It seemed that they were casual cultivators from other places and usually just ran this small store. After asking around, no one knew where the two had gone. Now it seemed that it would be difficult for him to find the answer to this question in a short time. Even if they were worried that I would come to settle the accounts, they didn't have to move the whole store away. Seeing that it was getting late, Qingming left here a little disappointed and found an inn in the market to stay. Lying on the bed, Qingming was still thinking about this matter. Now he even suspected that the two people had intentionally hidden this technique in the sword. Now that he had inherited this technique and felt the mystery of the Jade Mysterious Sutra, if it was really the two people who had intentionally passed it on to him, they could be regarded as his mentors. The next morning, Qingming left the inn early and came to the market again. Along the largest street in the market, Qingming came to a square on the east side of the market. At this time, many cultivators had gathered on the square. They were either in groups of 3 or 5, or alone like him, staring closely at the center of the square. This is the place where monks in Gianfang are posted with monster hunting tasks. There is a high circular wall in the center of the square. Posted on the wall are tasks of hunting monsters and purchasing spiritual medicines, as well as various monster information. From the first level monsters in the primary stage of Qi Refining to the second level monsters at the peak of Foundation Building, as long as the first level and second level monsters near Gianfang are included, the magic power of monsters above level 3 is equivalent to that of giant and monks among humans, and they generally do not appear near Gianfang. They are active in the depths of the Funiu Mountains, and Gianfang naturally does not dare to offer a reward for monsters of this level. In these published information, not only will the places where monsters are active be marked, but also information such as characteristics and weaknesses will be written one by one, and the valuable items on these monsters will be specially noted. The reason for this is to facilitate the monks who have accepted the task to make some preparations in advance before departure so that they can better complete the task. For this purpose, Xiaoyao sect specially recruited a group of monks in Gianfang to go deep into the Funiu Mountains to explore the information of these monsters. Then a special person gathered this information together, and finally posted it on the square according to the level, difficulty and other information of the monsters, plus the corresponding bounty spirit stones. It is clearly stipulated in the market that any monk, whether a direct disciple of Xiaoyao sect or a casual cultivator, can receive the bounty spirit stones indicated in the posted task as long as he successfully completes the task and brings the required token here. Gianfang is the largest market in the northern part of Xiaoyao sect. There are no less than 1,000 monks living in it, most of whom are casual cultivators. After taking the task in the market, these casual cultivators formed large and small monster hunting teams, and then went deep into the Funiu Mountains to hunt monsters, which also brought an unusually prosperous scene to Gianfang. The reason why Gianfang did this was to attract more monks to come here to hunt monsters, reduce the number of monsters in the Funiu Mountains, and make more preparations for future monster turmoil. Qingming had already inquired about some information about the market before he came. His purpose of coming here was to find a place where he could go out to hunt monsters and train himself. After walking around the square for a long time, Qingming made up his mind to start with tasks that were relatively simple for him. After finding a few relatively simple mid-level monsters in these tasks, Qingming was about to walk to the center of the square to take on these tasks, but a voice suddenly sounded beside him. "Fellow Taoist, please stay for a moment." Chapter 46 Fian Guard. Qingming looked up and saw that the person who was talking was a cultivator, wearing a bamboo hat and black clothes. This person had a good cultivation level and had reached the 8th level of Qi Refining. After looking around and confirming that the person was talking to him, Qingming took the initiative to stop and asked the person calmly, "Dao, are you talking to me? I don't know you." "Did you recognize the wrong person?" The black-clothed cultivator nodded, then took out a black token, put it in front of Qingming and continued, "Dao, don't misunderstand me. I am a cultivator patrolling in Gianfang. I just want to ask you something. There are too many people and it's noisy here, so it's not convenient to talk. Can you lend me a hand to talk?" Looking at the black token in front of him, Qingming nodded, and then, under the guidance of the black-clothed cultivator, he left the center of the square. After crossing several busy streets, the two came to a quiet tea house. The black monk didn't say anything else along the way, just asked Qingming to follow him closely. When the two arrived at the tea house, the owner immediately greeted him warmly when he saw the black monk walking in front. "Master Lu, you are here. Is it still the same as before today?" The black monk nodded and added, "We have something to discuss today. Don't let anyone disturb us." After that, he led Qingming to a private room on the second floor. Seeing that the owner was very familiar with the black monk, it was obvious that this guy came here often. As soon as the two sat down, a waiter in the shop brought a pot of spiritual tea. After putting the tea on the table, he quickly left at the signal of the black monk. The black-robed monk poured a cup of spiritual tea for Qingming, and politely brought it to Qingming, then said, "My name is Lu Yunfei, may I know your name?" "My name is Qingming." Facing the patrol team from Gianfang, Qingming did not dare to hide his identity as before. After all, he had already verified and registered his identity before entering the city, and it was impossible to deceive the patrol monks here. "Oh, it turns out to be fellow Taoist Song. I saw you wandering around the demon hunting platform today. I guess you have been in Gianfang for a while. I wonder if you have heard of Funiu." After Lu Yunfei finished speaking, he stared at Qingming. After thinking for a while, Qingming answered carefully and softly, "I have heard that this is a demon detecting team specially established by Gianfang, responsible for detecting information about demon beasts in the floating cloud mountains. I wonder if Brother Song is interested in joining our Fian Guard." Lu Yunfei's words immediately surprised Qingming. At first, he thought that this man was going to interrogate him about something, and he had been on edge for a long time. It was not until he knew his purpose that he was relieved. "I heard that Fian Guard has always been very strict in recruiting people. In the past, most of those who could join were those with strange skills. I wonder what Brother Lu likes about me. Can you tell me a little bit, so that I can think about it?" "Well, it doesn't hurt to tell you. Because I have practiced a spiritual consciousness technique that can detect the depth of mana in the bodies of cultivators of the same level. Today in the market, I observed that Brother Song's mana is deeper than other cultivators of the same level, so I have the idea of recruiting talents. After Lu Yanfei finished speaking, he took a sip of the spiritual tea in his hand and continued. You also know that Fei Unwei has always been strict in recruiting talents. It's just that the monsters in the northern border are about to riot, and the monsters in the floating cloud mountains have been very restless recently. Therefore, our Fei Unwei has also been recruiting people to help detect monsters. Compared with fighting with monsters head-on, I think it would be more secure for Brother Song to join our Fei Unwei. We only need to detect the location, habits and movements of monsters and bring back useful information. The monthly reward is not worse than those monster hunting teams. May I ask if it is easy to quit after joining Fei Unwei? Song Qingming asked again with some caution. Brother Song, please rest assured that except for a few sect disciples, most of our Fei Unwei are free to come and go like those casual cultivators of the monster hunting team. As long as they complete the task, they can get the reward. Moreover, with the identity of Fei Unwei, whether Brother Song rents a cave in Gianfang or purchases the necessary materials in the market controlled by our Xiaoao sect, he can enjoy the same benefits as the sect disciples. However, Fei Unwei also has some specific task targets every year, exploring some unknown places in Funiu Mountain. If you cannot complete them or refuse to go, the market will directly remove your identity as Fei Unwei. Please pay attention to this. After Lu Yanfei finished speaking, he looked at Song Qingming with a smile. He explained the benefits so thoroughly, and he thought that this kid would not refuse. 2 months later, in Funiu Mountain, Song Qingming, wearing a bamboo hat and a black dress, was hiding behind a huge rock, watching from a distance a giant green crocodile wandering in a swamp dozens of feet away. After a long time, Song Qingming took out a black notebook from the storage bag, opened it and wrote, "A high-level monster, the green water crocodile, can use top-grade water spells. It lives alone in the green water pond 300 miles southwest of Qingming Mountain. It likes to go out to the swamp south of the pond at noon to find fish." After putting away the black notebook, and watching that the green water crocodile had swam back to the pool after having a good meal and a drink, Song Qingming stood up, looked around carefully, and left quickly. After receiving Lu Yanfei's invitation in the tea house that day, Song Qingming thought about it for a while and decided to join the Fei Guard of Gianfang, and started the work of searching for information about monsters in the floating cloud mountains. Speaking of the Fei Guard, it is really not an ordinary organization of cultivators. It not only includes hundreds of experts in the Qi Refining stage, but also several Foundation establishment cultivators leading the team. Song Qingming's cultivation level of the 6th level of the Qi Refining stage seems inconspicuous in it, which is equivalent to being at the bottom. The tasks they received were mainly to explore the monsters in the areas they were responsible for in the floating cloud mountains, record the valuable information on these monsters, and then send them back to Gianfeng in exchange for spirit stones. These areas will generally be explored by Foundation establishment monks in the air first. The Foundation establishment monks will record the information of the second-level monsters in this area first to prevent the Qi Refining monks from mistakenly entering the territory of the second-level monsters. Then they will arrange these Qi Refining monks to explore the information of the Qi Refining monsters in the area in detail. At the same time, about once or twice a year, there will be forced assignments to explore unknown areas on the map. Although these tasks will also be explored by Foundation establishment monks first, these unknown areas are often more dangerous than those places that have already appeared on the map and are often visited by monks. There are often some second-level monsters that slip through the net and escape the search of the Foundation establishment monks. The Foundation establishment monks can only project their consciousness 3 to 5 miles away. It is common to miss some places in such unfamiliar places. Once the Qi Refining monks encounter a second-level monster, they can only rely on luck to survive. Therefore, in Fei Unwei, basically all the cultivators have some special skills, or special escape spells, agile skills, and practice spiritual consciousness like Lu Yanfei. The spiritual consciousness perception is particularly strong and can predict danger in advance. With these various special skills, the probability of their survival can be greatly increased. Otherwise, ordinary cultivators can easily go without return. Song Qingming also has some confidence in himself. Although he has no powerful magic power in fighting, Fortunately, after practicing Yuxin Sutra, his magic power is much stronger than that of ordinary people. Lu Yunfei also saw this point in him at the time. In addition, he has excellent magic tools, talismans and other protective spiritual objects on him. As long as he does not encounter a powerful second-level monster, it is not difficult for him to escape. In fact, the main reason why he agreed to Lu Yunfei was that he saw the identity of Fei Unwei. With the identity of Fei Unwei, many things will be more convenient for him to do in Yi Unfeng in the future. I probably had a cold, as the headache came quietly. I tossed and turned in bed but couldn't fall asleep. I got up and made 2 cups of jiu, one for me and the other for another. Chapter 47 Inquiring for Information. After bypassing several high mountains, Song Qingming hurried south for more than 100 miles and came to a high mountain. After arriving at the place, Song Qingming took out a black token from his body, then clenched his hands and slowly injected his spiritual power into it. After a while, a white light shot out from the token and shot straight to an open space on the high mountain in front. The originally empty land was illuminated by the white light emitted by the token, and a burst of colorful spiritual light suddenly appeared. When the spiritual light slowly dissipated, a large area of cyan tents appeared between the originally empty mountain tops. More than 20 tents were lined up on the top of the mountain. Looking down from the sky, it looked like a cyan giant python entrenched on the top of the mountain. This was a temporary camp of Fei Unwei in the floating cloud mountains. Fei Unwei has been active in the depths of the floating cloud mountains all year round. In order to facilitate their actions, every time they explore a place, they will choose a suitable place nearby to build a temporary camp for them to stay for a long time. This high mountain is also a second-level spiritual vein. It was originally occupied by a second-level inferior flying feather tiger. More than a month ago, Song Qingming and others, led by a foundation building senior of Fei Unwei, killed the monster and settled the camp here. In addition to a foundation building cultivator who is not often in the camp, there are more than 30 Qi refining cultivators stationed here. These Fei Unwei go out to their assigned locations during the day to explore the information of monsters, and return to the camp before sunset to rest. After joining Fei Unwei for 2 months, Song Qingming has already had some preliminary understanding of this place. The entire Fei Unwei has more than 100 people, including 3 foundation building cultivators, and the rest are Qi refining cultivators, basically all of whom have a cultivation base of more than the 5th level of Qi refining. They are divided into 12 guards, with more than a dozen people in each guard. After Song Qingming joined, he was arranged by Lu Yunfei to the 11th guard. About 30% of the Feian guards are cultivators from the Xiaoao sect. Lu Yunfei, who recruited Song Qingming into the Feian guards that day, was an inner disciple of the Xiaoao sect. He joined the Feian guards as the leader of the first guard only because the sect sent him to garrison in Yi Unfeng. In addition to the cultivators from the Xiaoao sect, the remaining cultivators are all kinds of casual cultivators hired by Yi Unfeng. Every time the Feian guards go out to perform a mission, there is a strict mission process and time arrangement. There is no mission to prohibit the cultivators from leaving the camp at will. For a member like him who has just joined, there will not be too many tasks assigned by the upper level. Today, he completed the task early and returned to the camp. Just as he walked to his tent, Song Qingming saw a noise in the tent next to him, and an old man in black clothes walked out. The old man saw Song Qingming and came over with a smile. "Fellow Taoist Song, you have completed the mission so early today. I thought I would see you later." The old man in black walked in front of Song Qingming and said with a smile on his face. The old man in black was named Qi Refinement, who was over 90 years old. He was a casual cultivator who had joined Feian Guard for many years. Song Qingming and this man both belonged to the 11th Guard of Feian Guard, and their camps were close to each other, so they had naturally met before. However, he had just arrived, and was not familiar with anyone except Lu Yunfei who brought him in. Song Qingming saw that Qi Refinement seemed to have been waiting for him here for a long time, and that he seemed to have something to ask him, so he cupped his hands, bowed and said, "Senior, you came to see me today, what is the matter? I heard from Captain Lu last time that fellow Taoist Song still has a mid-grade magic talisman. This time, I've been unlucky, and I've encountered several bad-tempered monsters in succession. I've used up all the life-saving talismans on me. Could you sell me a few? I'll owe you a favor." Qi Refinement saw that Song Qingming knew somewhat of his purpose, so he didn't beat around the bush and directly stated his purpose. Senior Qi, you're too polite. We are all fellow practitioners and should take care of each other. It's just that I don't have many talismans left, so I can only give you 2. Please don't mind. Song Qingming hesitated for a moment, then readily agreed. Then, I would like to thank you very much, young friend. Qi Mountain took the 2 talismans handed over by Song Qingming, happily put them into the storage bag, and then took a few spiritual stones for Song Qingming. Song Qingming did not refuse. After joining Funiu, he found that since they had to stay in Funiu Mountain for at least 3 months for each mission, they often lacked various supplies and had no way to replenish them. People like Qi Mountain who were unlucky enough to encounter several high-level monsters besieged, once the consumables such as talismans were used up, they would not dare to go out to perform the mission without safety guarantees. Fortunately, Song Qingming still had enough talismans on him, and selling a few of them to him would not affect his next mission. Among the talismans that Song Qingming had refined in Lingyuan Mountain in recent years, auxiliary talismans such as the God Traveling Talisman, the Earth Escape Talisman, and the Invisibility Talisman had not been selling well in Funiu Mountain. He had stockpiled a lot of them in recent years. Unexpectedly, when he came here, these less popular talismans became popular supplies. Song Qingming was naturally happy to see that he could exchange the talismans he had stored for spiritual stones and make friends with some fellow practitioners. It was a pity that he could not find all kinds of talisman-making materials in the floating cloud mountains. Otherwise, he could make a small profit from this team of more than a dozen cultivators. After completing the transaction with Song Qingming, Qi Mountain stroked his gray beard, thought for a while, and then said slowly, "I heard that you are asking about the black market. I have been in the floating cloud mountains for many years and I know some things. I wonder if Brother Song is free to chat." Song Qingming was about to return to his tent, but Qi Mountain suddenly said something that surprised him. After arriving at Yunfang, Song Qingming didn't know many people. He only asked Lu Yunfei about the black market. It was a pity that Lu Yunfei had only been in Yunfang for more than 2 years. He had only heard about the black market and didn't know the specific situation. After listening to Qi Mountain's words, Song Qingming hurriedly and enthusiastically invited him to his tent. Qi Mountain, an old-fashioned casual cultivator who had been in the Funiu Mountains for decades, must know some black market news. Song Qingming also wanted to ask him about it, but the two were not familiar with each other before. Today, this old guy took the initiative to come to the door, and Song Qingming naturally would not refuse him. After the two entered the tent, Song Qingming poured 2 cups of spiritual tea, and then he asked about the news of the black market. Qi Mountain was not a slippery man. He was also very enthusiastic about Song Qingming and told him a lot of useful information. After Qi Mountain's guidance, Song Qingming realized that the so-called black market was the place where some cultivators sold some shady or rare items. There were several such places in the floating cloud mountains, and it was also the place where the cultivators near Yunfang sold their stolen goods. Chapter 48, White Dragon Mountain Black Market. The largest black market near Yunfang is Bailong Mountain. Bailong Mountain is located more than 1,000 miles northwest of Yunfang. It is controlled by several foundation-building casual cultivators. The Bailong Mountain Black Market opens once a month. It is said that there are many things that cannot be found even in Yunfang. Many cultivators near Yunfang will go there to purchase spiritual objects. After all, there are many things that cannot be seen and allied in the black market. There is no need to care about the source of the items sold. There are casual cultivators, robbers and all kinds of people. It has always been despised by the famous and upright sects. Zia Oyo sect also explicitly prohibits its disciples from going to such places. Senior Qi, when I was in the market, I heard from a friend that there are foundation-building pills for sale in the black market near Yunfang. Senior, do you know whether it is true or not? Are there such spiritual objects in the Bailong Mountain black market? Seeing that the atmosphere had been laid out, Song Qingming asked a little deliberately. Foundation-building pill? I don't know whether this kind of spiritual object is true or not. I've heard people say that there was an auction of foundation-building pills in Bailong Mountain before, but I haven't seen it with my own eyes, so I don't know whether it's true or not. A lot of this news is deliberately released by those people to attract cultivators. Even if there is, it has nothing to do with us, right? Qi Mountain was a little surprised to hear Song Qingming asking about the foundation-building pill. He looked at Song Qingming meaningfully. In the eyes of a casual cultivator like him, It is unlikely that he would even be able to smell the scent of a spiritual object like the foundation building pill in his lifetime. He never thought that Song Qingming would actually ask him about the news of the foundation building pill. Seeing that Qi Mountain was a little confused, Song Qingming hurriedly explained, "Junior only heard about it, so I asked casually. I think the news should be false. Hey, I thought I could have the honor to see the foundation establishment pill. That's hard to say. You are still young and you may have this opportunity in the future. However, if you want to say where there is a foundation establishment pill near Gianfang, then it is only possible to see it in Funiu Mountain. It's just that the black market doesn't welcome strangers. If you want to go, you can ask Feng Laoga and the team to take you there and let him be your guide. Those of us who want to go here ask him to lead the way. He is familiar with that place and goes there at least 2 or 3 times a year. It's safer with him. You have to be very careful in that kind of place. Many wanted bandits in the market will appear there. If you are not careful, you will easily be targeted. Although Feng Laoga is a bit stingy, he is also righteous. As long as you don't treat him badly, there will be no big problem with safety." After listening to this, Song Qingming nodded and said, "Thank you for your advice, senior. I will be careful if I go there in the future." Feng Laoga, as Qi Mountain mentioned, is a cultivator of the 6th level of Qi Refining in the team. He got this title because he is ugly. However, this guy has very powerful gold-attributed skills and a puppet to help him. His combat power is quite good. Sometimes he dares to fight against high-level monsters. In Song Qingming's eyes, he has a good impression of Feng Laoga. This person is indeed a bit fussy in character. However, Song Qingming encountered several mid-level monsters chasing him during a mission. Feng Laoga happened to be nearby. Funiu is equipped with some spiritual objects for help. Once they are entangled by monsters during the mission, they can release these distress signals, and the nearby fellows must come to help after seeing them. Seeing Song Qingming send out a distress message, Feng Laoga, who was closest to him, was the first to rush to the scene. The two of them used some skills to get away. Afterwards, Song Qingming came to thank him. Feng Laoga insisted that Song Qingming compensate him with 2 talismans, saying that he used them to save Song Qingming. Song Qingming had no choice but to give them to him. Although he knew that this might be Feng Laoga's nonsense, he still saved him once. A few talismans were not as important to Song Qingming as his own safety. Qi Mountain and Song Qingming chatted for a while. Seeing that it was getting late outside, Song Qingming had nothing else to ask, so he stood up and said goodbye, but stopped at the door. "Friend Song, I heard that you are also a formation master. I just happened to refine a robe some time ago, but I haven't found a formation master to help draw the formation. If you have time, I would like to ask you to help draw 1 or 2 formations on it. Don't worry, the reward will never be lower than the market. Senior Qi has helped me solve a lot of problems today. How can I dare to ask for a reward for such a small matter? I will do my best to draw the formation. Please rest assured." After Song Qingming finished speaking, he took out a bag of spiritual tea and stuffed it into Qi Mountain's hand. Today, he heard so much news from this old man that he wanted to know. Naturally, Song Qingming didn't want to take advantage of it for nothing. After listening, Qi Mountain nodded with a smile, and then left Song Qingming with satisfaction. The next day, the old man Xu really sent a robe over. The robe was shining with golden light. It was a top-grade robe. Song Qingming didn't expect that this old man Xi, who was not good-looking and smooth in dealing with things, was actually a top-grade weapon refiner, which surprised him a little. He immediately looked at him with a new look and a little more respect. A top-grade weapon refiner was a very popular skill even among the Feian guards. Song Qingming only knew that he was a weapon refiner at the beginning, but he didn't expect that his weapon refinement level was so high. These people were in the floating cloud mountains where monsters appeared every day. Although the higher-ups clearly stipulated that in order to prevent unnecessary trouble, they were only responsible for exploring monster information and were prohibited from taking the initiative to attack monsters, so as not to attract second-level monsters to harass the camp. However, most of the Feian guards did not take this rule seriously. Some people would often attack some monsters directly outside the camp. Among the monster materials obtained, weapon refiners and talisman makers were most useful. Team leaders such as Lu Yunfei also turned a blind eye to these things. As long as they did not attract monsters to attack the camp, they were too lazy to care about these things. Song Qingming had been here for 2 months, and had received a lot of blood essence from mid-level monsters. Unfortunately, he had no idea about this when he came, and had not made any preparations for this. He did not bring any blank talisman paper with him, and this place could not receive such things. Fian guards had to rotate at least every 3 months. Even if he wanted to return to Gianfang, he would have to wait another month. In these 2 months, he, a mid-level talisman maker, had no place to use his skills. It was for this reason that Song Qingming readily agreed to Qi Mountain's help in drawing the magic array on his robes. Drawing the magic array on the robes was like drawing spells into the talismans. By embedding the original spells into these magic tools in the form of arrays, these magic tools could have some spells that could be released automatically, which would enhance the effects of these magic tools. However, these were mostly small and common spells, and the improvement of the magic tools was also very limited. It took Song Qingming 3 days to finally finish drawing the magic array on Qi Mountain's robe. This time, Song Qingming drew 2 low-grade magic arrays. One is water avoidance technique, which only has some auxiliary functions. It can automatically block rainwater for monks wearing robes and keep their clothes dry when walking in water. There is also a golden light shield, which can automatically release a golden light shield to resist 1 damage when encountering a sneak attack. However, this spell is not of high grade and can only resist offensive spells in the early stage of Qi Refining. When encountering opponents in the middle and late stages of Qi Refining, the light shield can also play a delaying role, giving the owner of the robe more time to react. In the past few years, Song Qingming's formation level has also made great progress. After comprehending the Liu family's formation classics, Song Qingming's formation level has also reached the edge of a breakthrough. After another year or 2 of precipitation, he will be able to impact the middle-grade formation master. Now drawing 2 low-grade magic arrays is not a difficult task for him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Feng Laoge. After drawing the formation of the robe, Song Qingming was not in a hurry to hand it over to Qi Mountain. He waited for a few days before bringing the robe to the outside of his tent. After sending a voice transmission, Qi Mountain soon came out. Seeing Song Qingming coming, Qi Mountain said with a smile, "Song Xiao came to see me, but the formation has been drawn. Junior has lived up to Senior Xi's trust and successfully drew 2 sets of formations. Please check them," Song Qingming said, and put the golden robe in his hand. Qi Mountain looked at the 2 extra talismans on the robe he had refined, and was very satisfied with the 2 exquisite formations drawn by Song Qingming. He happily put the robe away. After completing this task, Song Qingming came to the outside of Feng Laoge's tent again. Seeing that there seemed to be a figure walking in the tent, Song Qingming was happy in his heart. This old ghost finally ended his retreat. After hearing about the black market in Bailong Mountain from Qi Mountain a few days ago, Song Qingming came to find Feng Laoge after completing his daily tasks the next day. Unfortunately, Feng Laoge was in seclusion practicing. Monks are most afraid of being disturbed when they are in seclusion practicing. Song Qingming had to ask for help from others, so he naturally did not dare to send a voice transmission invitation directly. Song Qingming came to visit for several days in a row, but he could only return empty-handed when he saw the closed tent. Fortunately, his luck finally changed today. After Song Qingming sent a voice transmission, there was a noise in the tent soon, and an ugly man with a scour on his face came out. It was Feng Laoge. Feng Laoge was ugly and liked to haggle. He was not very popular in the camp. He usually went out to perform tasks or practiced in the camp. He rarely came out to walk with other monks. Song Qingming saw that he was full of joy. His magic power seemed to have improved a lot compared to the last time they met. He must have been practicing in seclusion these days and his skills have improved a lot, so he was so happy. "Congratulations, Brother Feng. I haven't seen you for more than half a month. You have improved your skills a lot." Song Qingming bowed to Feng Laoge and congratulated him. No, Brother Song, you are welcome." Feng Laoge smiled and looked at Song Qingming, returned the greeting, and invited Song Qingming into the tent. Feng Laoge's tent was quite clean. There was nothing else except a few futons and some tables and chairs. After sitting down, Song Qingming stated his purpose straight away. When Feng Laoge heard that he wanted to go to Bailong Mountain, his face changed slightly and he said, "I'm afraid I'll disappoint you, Brother Song. Bailong Mountain is not easy to enter. It's not peaceful there recently. I haven't been there for a few years. I don't know who is the big mouth who told people everywhere that I've been to Bailong Mountain. Is that a place that ordinary people can go to?" Song Qingming immediately heard the greed in his words. This Feng Laoge is really a man who can win everything. It is definitely difficult to gain anything if you don't pay a price to deal with him. Don't worry, Brother Feng, I will naturally not let you go in vain. As long as you promise to take me there once, these talismans will be regarded as your hard work fee. After Song Qingming finished speaking, he took out a few talismans and placed them in front of Feng Laoge. These talismans are all mid-grade talismans, and they cost more than a dozen spirit stones in the market. In the floating cloud mountains, for the Fian guards who are short of supplies, these mid-grade talismans are more valuable than those in the market. To be honest, even Song Qingming, who has no shortage of talismans, felt a little pain in his heart to take out so many mid-grade talismans. If he hadn't been asking for information about the foundation building pill, he wouldn't have been so generous. "Fellow Taoist Song, what are you doing? You are too polite. We are also familiar with each other. If you really want to go, I am willing to take you there, but now we still have to carry out the mission here. When we return to Gianfang in a month, you can come to my cave in Gian Mountain." Looking at the glittering talismans in front of him, Feng Laoge grinned, and his attitude immediately changed drastically. He stretched out his hand to take the talismans from Song Qingming's hand. Unexpectedly, a green light flashed in Song Qingming's hand, and most of the talismans were put into the storage bag, leaving only one to Feng Laoge. "This talisman is a deposit. Please accept it first. Don't worry, fellow Taoist Feng. When we get to Bailong Mountain, I will offer the rest of the talismans to you. Please don't mind." Feng Laoge took the talisman, shook his head and said, "Fellow Taoist Song, I just have something to ask you for help. If you are willing to help, you don't have to give me the rest of the talismans. What do you think? Please be frank." "I don't know if I can help you." Song Qingming was interested when he heard it, but he didn't know what Feng Laoge wanted him to do, so he didn't dare to agree directly. "Don't worry, fellow Taoist Song, although this matter is a little dangerous, it is not a difficult task. I originally planned to go there with another fellow Taoist. If fellow Taoist Song can help, the chances of success will definitely increase a lot." When Song Qingming heard that it was a little dangerous, he immediately wanted to back out and was thinking about how to refuse. Seeing that Song Qingming seemed a little hesitant, Old Ghost Feng rolled his eyes and continued, "I won't hide it from fellow Taoist Song. A month ago, I saw a top-grade white jade flower in a mountain. Unexpectedly, there was also a high-level fire rat there. I tried to pick it secretly several times, but was discovered by the demon rat and was chased by it. This time I plan to call for help, kill the monster first, and then pick the elixir. I wonder if fellow Taoist Song is interested in helping me. Don't worry, after killing the monster, you two will split the materials on the monster equally. I only want the pearl elixir." When Song Qingming heard the white jade flower, his heart moved. Old Ghost Feng was really lucky. Top-grade white jade flowers were rare in the floating cloud mountains. Spiritual medicines like white jade flowers were difficult to cultivate. Those with a medicinal age of more than 100 years were difficult to buy in Gianfang. One plant cost at least 70 or 80 spirit stones. Song Qingming asked, "Who is the other fellow Taoist? How is his cultivation?" "Fellow Taoist Jia, you should have heard of him. His cultivation is the same as mine, at the 6th level of Qi Refining, and his magical powers are not inferior to mine. In addition, I have a middle-grade puppet on me. If the four of us take action at the middle level of Qi Refining, I estimate that this matter has a 70% to 80% chance of success," Feng Laoge hurriedly explained. "Brother Feng, why don't you ask a few masters in the late stage of Qi Refining in the camp to help? Wouldn't this be safer?" First of all, if you want a few fellow Taoists in the late stage of Qi Refining to take action, I'm afraid you will have to pay more spirit stones. This is not worth it. Secondly, they are not that familiar with me. If Captain Lu finds out about this, it will be difficult for me to end it," Feng Laoge said with a somewhat evasive smile. As Song Qingming expected, the other person's cultivation was indeed similar to theirs. There were many masters in the late stage of Qi Refining in the camp. The reason why Feng Leoga didn't dare to ask them for help was that he was afraid that after killing the monster, the other party would turn against him and rob the spiritual objects, and he would not be able to stop them. In the final analysis, the gap between the late Qi Refining Masters and the mid-Qi Refining Monks was too big. Without equal strength constraints, they had no sense of security in their cultivation when they acted together. Under normal circumstances, a 7th level Qi Refining Monk could at least beat 3 or 4 6th level Qi Refining Monks. Although there was only one level difference in cultivation, after breaking through the late Qi Refining stage, the monks could release their spiritual consciousness, and the perception ability would be significantly stronger than that of the mid-Qi Refining Monks. They could also sense danger in advance during the battle, and their combat ability would be greatly improved compared to the mid-Qi Refining Monks. Chapter 50, Flame Rat. Song Qingming thought about it for a while and decided to participate in this operation. He agreed to Feng Leoga's request. Seeing that he agreed, Feng Leoga asked him to wait a while. He walked out of the tent with joy and sent a sound transmission note. Soon, a man in white dressed in Confucian clothes came into the tent. The man in white was called Jia Sixing. He was in his 30s. Like Song Qingming, he had not been in Funiu for long. He and Feng Leoga had known each other for many years in Yianfang. It was Feng Leoga who introduced him to Funiu. Jia Sixing was also a little surprised to see that there was another person in Feng Leoga's tent. After nodding and greeting Song Qingming, he said to Feng Leoga, "I was wondering, Brother Feng just came out of seclusion, why is he so anxious to go and pick the pearl spirit medicine? It turns out that he has found another helper. It seems that Brother Feng is determined to do it this time." Feng Leoga nodded and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist Song and I have some friendship. He has just agreed to work together. With one more person, our hope of success will be greater this time. Anyway, I only want the white jade flower afterwards, and all the materials for killing the monster will belong to you too." Jia Sixing nodded and said, "In that case, let's make a deal in advance. I don't care about other things, but the fur on the flame rat must belong to me. I want to ask someone to refine a top-grade magic weapon. This thing will be of great use to me. If fellow Taoist Song agrees, there will be no problem on my side. There are not many valuable parts on the body of a monster like the flame rat. The best part is the skin of the monster rat. The fur of a high-level flame rat is a good material for refining magic tools, and its value is higher than the other items on it combined." Jia Sixing said this, obviously wanting to take advantage. "Okay, then it's settled. You take the flame rat fur, and the rest of the monster material belongs to me." Although Song Qingming knew that this would be a disadvantage, he did not bother with Jia Sixing. He knew in his heart that although the three of them had the same cultivation, these two were both cultivators who had advanced to the 6th level of Qi Refining for many years, and their fighting ability should be higher than his. After all, he had just arrived at Funiu, and being too fussy might make the other party dissatisfied. Song Qingming also knew from Feng Leoga that the flame rat he was going to deal with this time was at most the 7th or 8th level of Qi Refining. Although it was already a high-level monster, among the many high-level monsters in the Qi Refining period, the flame rat's magical powers were average, and it was not considered a difficult monster to deal with. Otherwise, if they were dealing with those difficult high-level monsters, even if Feng Leoga could be eloquent and offer a sky-high price, Song Qingming could only do nothing. After all, although the spirit stones were good, they had to be alive to spend them. If it didn't work, he could just go to the market to inquire about the news of Mount Mountain. As long as he was willing to spend time, there would always be a way. Although there were great risks in dealing with the high-level monsters this time, as long as he could get half of the monster materials, he could also get 20 to 30 spirit stones, save a few spirit talismans, and get to know his two teammates and understand their magical powers. For Song Qingming, it was a good deal no matter how he calculated it. He had to take this risk when he came out to train. The place where the white jade flower was located was only more than 50 miles away from the camp. After Song Qingming and the other two made an appointment, they left the camp one after another early the next morning. The time and speed of the Feian guards completing the task were generally not pursued too closely by the higher-ups, and the rewards were also issued according to the quality of their respective tasks. As long as they did not bring disaster to the camp, Lu Yunfei didn't bother to care where they went. After meeting at the foot of the mountain, under the leadership of Feng Leoga, the three of them spent more than half an hour on the journey and arrived at a small rocky hill. The flame rat is in the cave ahead. This monster has a very sensitive nose. As long as someone approaches the cave, they will be attacked by this beast immediately. Even if they use the invisibility talisman, it will be useless. Feng Leoga pointed to a small rock cave several dozen feet ahead of the three of them and said to Jia and Song beside him, "Just follow the plan we agreed on the way. Brother Feng will use the puppet to lure the monster out first. After the monster comes out, Brother Song will block its retreat to prevent it from retreating back to the cave." Jia Sixing repeated the action plan that the three of them had studied yesterday. Then Feng Leoga slapped the storage bag on his waist, and a 3-inch white puppet beast was released by him. The puppet beast flashed with golden light and soon turned into a 7-foot-long white tiger. The white tiger was full of spiritual light and looked majestic. Feng Leoga cast a forbidden spell with both hands, and the white giant tiger puppet flashed with a spiritual light, and its eyes shone with a white light, and it quickly rushed to the cave where the flame rat was hiding. When it was still 4 or 5 feet away from the cave entrance, the white tiger puppet opened its mouth and instantly sprayed out a lightning light. After a loud bang, rocks flew all over the sky, and the cave entrance that was more than half a person's height was almost completely buried by the blasted rubble. Looking at this white tiger puppet, Song Qingming's eyes also lit up. Feng Leoga's medium-grade white tiger puppet was actually a relatively rare puppet beast that could use lightning spells. Puppet beasts of the first level are not rare. Many large sects have this kind of inheritance. Uyghur Zioao sect also has many cultivators who can refine first-level puppet beasts, but puppet beasts above the second-level foundation building stage are very rare. No one in the entire Uyghur can refine them. It is estimated that even if all the giant cultivators in Uyghur are added together, there are not many. Among the many spells of different attributes, thunder spells have always been the most powerful in attack. If Feng Leoga's white tiger puppet beast is used properly, it can be as powerful as a cultivator of the 5th level of Qi Refining. Puppet beasts are generally only about half the power of cultivators or monsters of the same level. Normal cultivators can only control 1 or 2 puppets of the same level at most. If there are more, the puppets cannot exert their full strength. Only some cultivators who practice special techniques and have stronger spiritual consciousness can control more puppet beasts. In the western part of Donghuang Xian's Hao, there is a Zijin country that is several times larger than Uyghur. There is a large sect in Zijin country that specializes in puppetry, called Jinka sect. There is a secret technique in Jinka sect that specializes in cultivating the spiritual consciousness of cultivators. It can make the spiritual consciousness of cultivators who practice this technique several times stronger than that of cultivators of the same level. There have even been powerful cultivators in Jinka sect who can control more than a dozen puppets at the same time. With the help of many puppet beasts, the disciples of the Golden Puppet sect often have the upper hand in battles with cultivators of the same level. For this reason, the cultivators of the Golden Puppet sect are always feared by cultivators of other sects when they are outside. Although the Golden Puppet sect has only 3 nascent soul cultivators, it has dominated the cultivation world of Zijin country for thousands of years by relying on several nascent soul level puppets that have been passed down from generation to generation. Several other major nascent soul sects in Zijin country have experienced ups and downs, but only the Golden Puppet sect has remained standing for thousands of years by relying on the puppetry technique. Old Ghost Feng was about to attack again while operating the white tiger puppet. At this moment, a rumbling sound suddenly came from the gravel at the entrance of the cave. With a strange squeak, a 3-foot-long red demon rat jumped out from the gravel. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.